evening, everyone. The board is back in open session. May I have a motion?
Motion approved by Sophia Tse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. We welcome public comments, and anybody wishing to make a public comment must fill out a card on the table to my left. All public comments are to be made during the public comment section or at the time an item is presented and must be done before the item is discussed. Each comment must be no more than 5 minutes. I also like to make a motion. May I have a motion to excuse Ernie Nishi, who is attending the forum at the City Council?
So moved.
Second, Apodaca.
Okay. Can we have a vote? Roll call?
Or unless you just want to do
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Tonight in closed session, the board discussed public employee discipline, dismissal, release, evaluation, one matter. Conference with labor negotiator, update on negotiations with ABCFT, AFSCME, and CSEA. Conference with real property negotiator, one matter. We'll have a pledge of allegiance. Dr. Michael Eugenio, please lead us.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of March 1st?
Motion approved, Eugenio.
Second by Sophia.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 15, 2022?
Motion approved, Eugenio.
Second by Sophia.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. I am pleased with lifting of the mask mandate for outdoor and allowing our students and families with choices. Furthermore, the indoor mask mandate will be lifted on March 12th. This allows for each families to choose what is best for each child, and let us respect different choices. I strongly believe in supporting parents to raise their child according to their family values. Parents should be informed regarding new policies from Sacramento, which is essential in making important decisions regarding medical, emotional, and social well-being of their child. Since I started serving on the school board, I am disturbed and frustrated with all the mandates from Sacramento, which does not always benefit our students, and for the most part is an obstacle to learning the essential subjects, math, English, science, art, and technology. If something like field trips and school documents require parent signature, it doesn't make any sense to me how any medical-related procedures does not require parental consent. Any medical-related procedures should go through parental consent. Furthermore, I have been deeply disturbed regarding all the Senate bills and Assembly bills that have been signed into law which directly go against family and children, and also restricting educators from teaching the essential academics. There are too many non-educational agendas. The more freedom given to our educators, the more benefit for our children. After numerous questions and conversations with district staff, I learned over the years the limited authority the schools have. We are bound to follow the laws and guidelines due to the liabilities because they are signed into law. What can be done? We have to write to our assembly member and senator and advocate for the needs of our children and families. That is each one of our responsibilities. I want to encourage the community, parents, retired teachers, and even current teachers to share your opinions with political leaders for our future. On the other hand, we all agree there needs some kind of accountability for companies like social media companies and technology companies, but there isn't. I hope we will see bills in the future to restrict these companies provide guidelines and also penalize the companies which harms our children and community. I had the pleasure of visiting Cerritos High School, Whitman Elementary, Stowers Elementary, and Carmelita Middle School this week and last week. And I am most impressed and thankful to our principals for their passion and perseverance during these last 2 years. And of course, this is continuing of that, pandemic struggle. But the principals seem to be more excited than the students. I mean, they were so enthusiastic to be on campus and just serving our students. I was really impressed how they set the tone of that positive servanthood. And these principals really enjoy their work. I'm not kidding. And they really express they're very thankful to be working as they do. I feel that what a blessing it is for our ABC district to have such principals. The Whitman Elementary's art and robotics, it's a fantastic. The artwork was amazing. And I feel that during this time, kids coming together in person, learning and expressing their, emotion through art, music, and sports, I think it's fantastic. In Carmenito Middle School today, the orchestra, the band teacher was amazing. It was so good to see the students participating in these programs. And it's so good to feel the energy. And congrats to Cerritos girls basketball team for making it to CI finals, and also for Artesia High School soccer team. Okay, that is the end of my report. Okay, now we have student board representatives, Anamika Bawa and Ashley Walker of Cerritos High School. Please come up to the podium.
Good evening, President Yu, Vice President Beach, Clerk Ueno, and distinguished board members of the board. Since we last met, we had many events that made our school year much more enjoyable. In October, we had our homecoming dance, which took place on campus. This dance was attended by about 1,000 students. It was one of the largest turnouts for homecoming, and the move outdoor was loved by all. Additionally, we had our annual Red Ribbon Week, which fell on the week of Halloween. Each day, we had dress-up days that corresponded with the message that ASB wanted to express about staying drug-free. On the last day, we had our annual Halloween costume contest. It was a nice activity, and many students, teachers, and staff participated. In our drama department, they held a play about Shakespeare. It was a comical take on the play and was loved by all our campus. Every school year, we participate in giving back to the community and do a canned food drive in November. Over the course of the month, we urge our school to donate to those who weren't in the position to have a warm cooked meal that month. On November 15th, we went to We Care in Los Alamitos and stocked their shelves to the brim. We collected a total of 1,500 pounds of food. We were also able to provide boxes for some of our CHS students in need. Additionally, our commissioners of tech held the annual fall concert in our quad. We had various performances by our students that were cheered on by many. Furthermore, ASB took time after school to decorate the entire office for the holiday season. Everyone was assigned a door poster where we took the time to include the faculty members' interest to create a personalized door poster. We made the office as cheerful as possible in preparation for the holidays. As well as, in December, we participated in the toy drive. The turnout was incredible, and we had almost 500 toys to be delivered to We Care. It was heartwarming to see our campus so eager to give back in these times. To further build the holiday spirit, we had caroling in the quad. Many students volunteered to sing and perform. Moving on to our winter dance, which was scheduled for January 22nd, had to be canceled, and the venue could not accommodate us at a later date. While we were very disappointed, we were able to work towards creating something in return. In February, we had a crowning in the quad at lunch to give the winter former Royal winners the chance to experience something magical. We were able to make the most out of our situation, and I believe that we did very well. This February was also Black History Month. Our commissioners on multicultural affairs worked greatly to emphasize the importance of this month. On our CHTV homeroom announcements, There were informational videos shown to the school. We also had activities like playing music by Black artists, Jeopardy games, and dress-up days. In February, we also had the honor to see the date 2/22/22, which also sounds like tutu, that generally female ballet dancers wear. Along with ASB, other groups on campus like our yearbook club and front office staff wore these tutus to celebrate the date.
To recap our amazing winter sports season, our boys and girls wrestling team placed second in the 605 league. Girls water polo played in the CIF till round 2, and they had an 18-12 season record. Boys basketball had a 9-14 overall record and placed second in the 605 league. They competed in the first CIF round at Charperl. Girls basketball had a 16-7 overall record and placed first in the 605 league. Amazingly, for the first time in over 20 years, the team made it to CIF finals. The Lady Dons fought amazingly each round, and it was a sight to see. This past Saturday was the CIF finals game played against LaSalle. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but it was an extraordinary thing to see, and the girls made history. Boys soccer placed third in the 605 league and played until the quarterfinals, where they lost against Geffen Academy. Girls soccer placed first in the 605 league and competed in CIF until the second round. That's all for our sports. We are insanely proud of all the records broken and new milestones achieved by all of our Dons. Some of our future events will be taking place are ASB elections, where the school votes for upcoming school year's elected positions. Also, our annual blood drive and project diversity. Finally, the largest and most anticipated event of the year is our 50th anniversary celebration on March 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is open to all to celebrate and commemorate the 50th year of our school. We will be exhibiting past school artifacts, reminiscing on these past years. Additionally, we will open the time capsule, which was placed in the walls of our gym 25 years ago. This will take place on Monday, March 7th. It holds many keepsakes and letters from students 25 years ago who are some now teachers at CHS. We are all very excited to celebrate this large milestone. So far, this school year has been amazing. This is due to the fact that our students are involved in so many groups on campus. The spirit at Cerritos High School is strong, and we can't wait to see it continue to grow for the rest of the year. Thank you.
How was the basketball this
It was-
past Saturday?
It was really intense. The student sections were really loud. I was there. I was yelling too.
Yeah, it was a lot of energy in the
Oh.
gym.
Tickets sold out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, there was a long line, I saw.
It was around the gym corner.
Wow, yeah, wow. Fantastic. Well, congratulations to Dons. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
President, we still have signs outside whenever we're here, also wear the mask when we're in this building? The mask require the people to wear masks?
Thank you, Board Member Sophia. I had the same question. I noticed there are unmasked people in our audience, and the mandate still stands. We need,
Yes.
you are welcome to participate in our board meeting, but I think we have to uphold the mask
Put your
mandate,
mask,
so.
cover your nose, please. And do we
Public,
have,
just a little while longer. Just a little while longer.
Yeah, with
Okay.
the indoor mask mandate will be lifted on March 12th. So if you can respect the law, and
Appreciate
just
it.
keep the mask on. Appreciate it.
Slightly longer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for cooperation.
and
Next, we
I-
have a
hold on a second, we
superintendent's.
still have people does not wear masks. Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And we have masks outside.
Do the
also.
mask. Just a second. Thank you.
Okay, next we have a superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, President Yu. I hope everyone had a great weekend last week. On Friday, February 25th, President Su Yu and I visited Hawaiian Elementary School, where many students were serving students with dental hygiene cleaning. It was a wonderful event to see the students properly dressed in their best clothes, and there were a number of photos that were taken that day. On the same day, I met with Robert Kane, who is the part of the Masters in Governance program with CSBA. He will be the moderator on Saturday, April the 9th, from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. I'm sure he will have plenty of questions and answers that will be facilitated by Robert Kane. On Saturday, I went to see the beautiful Jim Edwards Park on 19824 Jacob Avenue in Cerritos. There were numerous people there in front of a tent that was under us that day. The nicest, inspiring speaker was Jim Edwards' wife, Julie, who spoke from the heart regarding how she loved her family. I watched In the Heights performed at the Grace Hu Auditorium at the Whitney High School Theater. I sat next to Dr. Jennifer Mai and her family of 4. It was a spectacular event that lasted until 10 o'clock. On Monday, February 28th, I was part of the AALRR's broadcast of declining enrollment, best practices for tackling the difficult decision to close the school. It was a fascinating discussion about what to do in closing a school. I began my first USC Module 4 unit on that night. It went from 5:30 to 7:30. Dr. Krishina Wise was with us. She's the director of secondary schools. It was with over 28 participants that night. I participated in the DSLN weekly professional development session on March the 1st. They will pay our patrons who are partners with a $2,500 check. On Wednesday the 2nd, I spent the day at Whitman Elementary School in Mrs. Pineda's classroom. I will read her favorite book, the Hershey's Milk Chocolate Fractions book. I will meet with President of ABCFT, Ray Gear, tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I will meet with AXA's 2022 Superintendent's Symposium Planning Committee debrief. There are approximately 13 people on the committee debrief. For the rest of the week, I will be attending the Monterey Marriott to celebrate with President Sue Yu and Denise Macias, principal at Fetty Middle School. They will be honored with an award ceremony that will begin at 2 o'clock. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we have employee representative report. There is none. Okay, next we have public comments. Dr. Marco-Eugenio.
Thank you, Madam President. Persons wishing to address the board should fill out a card located on the table by the door and place it in a silver tin. Speakers will be called in sequence during public comments section, which is limited to 1 hour, and each speaker to one presentation of 5 minutes unless the board wishes to waive the time limit. Those who have a group concern are encouraged to select a spokesperson to address the board. Persons wishing to address the board on a specific agenda item at the time the item is under discussion are limited to 5 minutes each and will be called to speak following the staff comments and prior to the board's discussion and taking action. Please be respectful of the opinions of others and allow them to make their comment without interference from the audience. Adverse remarks about a person's race, ancestry, ethnic group, identification, religion, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, mental or physical disability, or age may not be made. Please avoid remarks or charges which reflect upon the character, motives, qualifications, or ability of any school district employee. Concerns presented to the board will be followed up and addressed by the appropriate staff. Our first speaker, we have Jennifer Hewitt. On standby, can I bring up Catherine DeSanti and also Emma Gravitt.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Hewitt, most know me as the former Chinese school principal. I wanted to present the program in here, our foundation partnership with the Cerritos Library. And we have in March the 19th, which is Saturday, and we're going to have the Chinese Cultural Day. It's the free program. So most of the performance people is from ABC School District, volunteer, and the kids are from ABC School District. So we would like it in invite all the board members to see the show. Okay, I think Cerritos Library already. If you see the Cerritos Library, the TV show, and then will show me this program. I think everybody have this. Yeah. And second program I wanted to represent is April 24. We have a Long Beach Dragon Boat. I remember 20 years ago, we are the foundation. We first helped Wayne High School create the first year the team. And right now, the Wayne High School Dragon Boat team is very strong in the community, so hope everybody can join. Two programs, one is March 19th, Saturday for the Cultural Chinese Day, and another one is April 24 in Long Beach Dragon Boat Festival. Thank you very much.
I will be there, Jennifer.
Next speaker, we have Catherine DeSanti. On standby, we have Emma Gravit and also Tritia Lashika.
Hi, my name is Catherine, and I stand before you as a lifetime citizen resident of Cerritos, just short of 40 years. I have attended Whitman, Carmenita, Gar High School. Not only have I been a student, but I've worked in food service as employee for ABC, and I'm currently serving in the PTA. I have never yet felt the need to get up prior to this day and speak. However, with that being said, today I feel really passionate about coming up here and expressing on some of these issues. For one, I want to thank the parents and anyone who has written in or addressed the board. It takes courage to stand up and speak what's on your mind and in your heart, especially when your opinion it may not be the popular one or one that fits the narrative. Around the country, parents are being shamed, slammed, and labeled terrorists for speaking up against ridiculous mandates, masking, and unspeakable bills that are trying to be pushed on parents by school boards, teacher unions, and districts. I want to publicly thank for the teachers and the staff that have fought alongside with us this whole time with masks, plexiglass, or the right to make choices for our own kids. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. It's nice to know that we are heard even if we are outnumbered at times. We are grateful for the teachers and staff that truly care about our students and teaching. On the other end of this, I would like to take time to address the teachers that were here last meeting, disrupting the parents and being rude. That was disappointing, to say the least. As a parent in the district, I would appreciate the vote to let parents make the final decision on the vaccine. Last time I checked, I didn't sign up to co-parent with the school. What may be right for one family doesn't always ring true for another, and I urge you to keep religious and medical exemptions and not let the medical decisions fall upon 12-year-olds, especially since our legal age to buy nicotine and alcohol is 21. I can't believe in this day and age, with everything that we know historically, this is what we're faced with today. It makes me sad to think that in America, I have to fight for my freedom and for that of my children.
3 minutes.
I wanted just to make the comment, there is a discussion about people not wearing masks inside, but when I came in at 6 o'clock today to put my card in, there was a couple staff members just down the hall without their mask. So what should be done in public should also be done behind closed doors. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Emma Gravit. On standby, we have Tritia Lashika and Angelica Valencia.
Hello, my name is Emma Gravit. I'm 11 years old, and I'm a 5th grader at Kennedy STEM Academy. I haven't been to school in 7 days because last Monday I was kicked out of my school by the district for refusing to wear a mask. My principal was very nice, but she has to follow the rules of the district, even if it's wrong. I'm not learning the things I need to learn because they won't let me come back to school unless I wear a mask. This is not fair and against the law and against my rights. It is very hard for me and my friends to sit in the classroom all day and not be able to breathe well. Wearing a mask makes me feel hot, like I cannot breathe, and sometimes sleepy, and it hurts my ears a lot. Kids like me should not be forced to wear a mask. Really, nobody should be forced to wear a mask at all. Everyone should have a choice. We live in the United States of America, and this is a free country. The governor of California is saying we don't have to wear masks anymore after March 11th. Please follow the new guidelines and let us all have a choice to wear a mask or not. I want to be able to see my teacher smile. I want to see my friends smile. I want to be able to breathe. Please vote for no more masks. Please vote to let me breathe. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Tritia La Chica, followed by Angelica Valencia and Ernesto.
Good evening. Sorry, I was not emotional until you made us very proud. Good job. Good evening. My name is Trisha La Chica. I have a 9th and 11th grader in our district. My point for being here tonight is just to publicly read off all the school districts who have dropped the mask mandates before Newsom announced the new recommendation to drop the mandates on March 12th. These school districts had the courage to drop the mandates and made their schools mask choice. Roseville Joint Unified, El Dorado Unified, Rescue Union Unified, Buckeye Union Unified, Latrobe Unified, Placerville Unified, Gold Trail Unified, Black Oak Mine Unified, East Nicholas High School, Nevada Joint Union School District, Eureka Unified, Rancho Santa Fe School District, Amador Unified, Fresno County School District, John Adams Academy in Placer County, Conejo Unified, San Jose Unified, and Clovis Unified. It is time for ABCUSD to be put on that ever-growing list. Mass choice is what we are asking, and for it to happen before March 12th. No more reason to wait. Take a stand just like these school districts. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Angelica Valencia, followed by Ernesto and Alexia.
Thank you for allowing me this time to speak. First, I do want to say thank you, Emma. My name is Angelica Valencia. I've lived in Cerritos for 12 years. I'm a wife, a mother to 3 school-age children, and I wanted to address the vaccine mandate by starting with a story. In April of 2020, I walked into a positive COVID room at the hospital I work in. When the rest of the world was terrified of this new virus, I willingly walked into a positive room. I did this not because I have superhuman strength to overcome fear, but I had learned enough to know my risk for being infected and my role in protecting myself against those risks, including adequate PPE. I was not and am not an expert in virology, infectious disease, or public health. I'm a doctor of physical therapy who knew that there was a person behind that signed covered door that needed my help to practice walking. When everyone else was fearful of being closer than 6 feet, my job necessitated that I be close enough to provide physical support to this person infected with a contagious virus from falling, to protect him from falling. I was in that room for 60 minutes. The exercise I helped him with was aimed at helping him get strong enough to go home. Exercise definitely increased his heart rate, along with respiratory rate, causing him to breathe deeper and faster and even coughing at times. Close contact, heavy breathing with a person who tested positive. If you were in the same situation, you may have chosen differently, and that's okay. I highlight this because at the height of the pandemic, some of my colleagues chose differently, but we both had the same knowledge and access to PPE. I want to emphasize that people don't need to be experts to assess a situation, the risk it poses, weigh it against the benefits, take precautions as needed, and make a decision. And that might not be the same decision another person would have made, and that's okay. I respect that. I would not force my decision on any of my colleagues. We are different people, and even if we face the same scenario, I would feel supported to choose differently. When the vaccine became available to healthcare workers, I got it and got the second dose 3 weeks later. Similarly, my husband got his vaccine 3 months after I did when it became available. After my second dose, I noticed drastic changes to my health that I initially dismissed but grew in severity over time that I couldn't ignore them. I relate these changes directly to the vaccine. Similarly, my husband noticed different but health changes after the second vaccine. His changes were cardiac of nature. And all I can say is that I have taken him to the emergency more time during this last year than is normal for a man his age, and is more than what is normal for a man that comes from his family line during this given age. All that to say that as discussion of the vaccine started to include teenagers and children, we did not rush out to get our children vaccinated. And I hope it's clear why we did not. Imposing a vaccine mandate for students to attend in-person learning is not the best nor the right thing to do. I sincerely ask you to put pressure on the governor to rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for in-person instruction for K-12 students. Parents who have knowledge of familial history, of children's current medical history, awareness of the issues involved in making those decisions, as well as being available to help monitor response to vaccine and ongoing health conditions, should play the biggest part in the decision making. Imposing a vaccine that my family, that my children would be expected to follow would be unethical, illogical, and not based on the scientific application of what has been observed in my family over the past year. I urge you to allow parents, as leaders of their families, to be the leaders in making personal medical decisions. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Ernesto, followed by Alexia and Livia.
So I want to speak on SB 866 and 871, and as far as mandates. I am alarmed at the idea of completely sidelining parents in this very important medical decision that affects our children. I am concerned about eliminating our parental choice and requiring a vaccine for which there is no long-term safety data. I care about social responsibility, public health, and getting out of this pandemic like everyone else does. We are very confident that there is a way to achieve this goal through equitable and fair policies that focus on education instead of divisive mandates and overreach. Are children so greatly at risk that parent choice needs to be completely eliminated? The leading cause of death for children in the United States is not COVID-19. In fact, children face the least risk of serious illness than any other age group. The death rate from COVID-19 for children is less than 0.1%. I will name the top 8 leading deaths in children. Number 1, accidents. That includes drowning, car fatalities. Are we going to mandate life jackets on children? Are we going to ban cars? Number 2, cancer. Number 3, abnormalities. Number 4, assault, homicide. Number 5, disease of the heart. Number 6, influenza. Number 7, suicide. And last, COVID. So my question is, when does this end? I need you to tell me when you believe we will end restrictions like masks, quarantines, and weekly testing on our healthy children. We are told our kids have to wear masks and get vaccinated because they are at risk from COVID, but the data shows there's risk less than from other respiratory viruses like influenza. So why are we forcing our children to wear masks and being forced to vaccinate? Kicking them out of schools for weeks and testing them for a virus when they have no symptoms. We're told our kids have to wear a mask until they're all vaccinated to keep them from spreading the virus. but the CDC has admitted that those who have been vaccinated can still get infected and can likely transmit the virus as easily as those who are unvaccinated. How many more booster shots will the government ask of our children to take for something that doesn't affect them? Number one leading cause of death in children is not COVID. So again, our question to you is, when will these restrictions end? There's enough scientific data to show that masks are ineffective for COVID. There's enough evidence that exists that establishes that children are not vectors of transmission. There's no recorded evidence of a healthy child that has not died of COVID in all of America since January 2020. There has been children with comorbidities, but I'm talking about healthy children. There is no need for children to continue being masked. However, there is much scientific evidence today that shows that these masks are extremely dangerous for children's health and well-being, causing physical, psychological, and mental disturbances. Whether it's discrimination, harassment, physical harm that's visible or not. So now I want to speak on laws. I want to speak on laws that the district has been breaking. So, restraining and seclusion. California Education Code 49005.8. Schools may not use seclusion for the purpose of coercion, discipline, convenience, or retaliation. This means forcible removal of a student's from classroom. The second law that you guys are breaking, independent study program. California Education Code 51747.f.8. A school cannot coerce your child into independent study program. Any involvement in independent study must be voluntarily. Number 3, Civil Code 5152. This is a $25,000 fine for a school denying a student in-person education. This applies to close contact quarantine, right? So if any parent doesn't want to quarantine a healthy child, the school is subjected to this fine each day. So if the parent decides to go back again, you're going to get fined twice. We're doing 10 days, right? So there'll be 10 days fined. So the actions that the parents will take will be UPC complaints,
Thank you for
winning
your
act
comment, sir.
complaints, government tort claims, complaints against credentials. This means teachers, principals.
Time.
Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Alexia, followed by Livia and Kirit Chahan.
Hello, board members. So I'm a parent in ABC, and I know last board meeting it kind of got crazy, but I wanted to say to teachers, you called on parents to support your paycheck, and we did. We are calling on you now to support your students' medical rights. Teachers Union said it was not in their job description to tutor students, and we understood. But it is also not in the job description to violate HIPAA laws, refuse religious and medical exemption, diagnose kids and send them home on suspicion of COVID. Stand up for these kids. Parents for choice. We are not conspiracy theorists. COVID has affected us personally, and we know it's real. Our children's immunization records are up to date per the law, and anything further is nobody's business. We don't ever send our kids to school sick. We are very diverse and not political. To staff and parents for pro-mandates, conversations that label unmasked and unvaxxed students are inappropriate and harmful to their mental state. Examples, parents and staff telling kids that are vaxxed they are heroes, caring, and kind. Sends the message that the unvaxxed or unmasked are not. Vaccination status is being celebrated If you got it, great. But if you didn't, you're being tolerated as a burden. You can place your kid in an N95 all day at school. You can get them fully vaxxed and boosted. If that is your firm belief. Your child, your choice. But you do not have permission to force other children that do not belong to you to do the same. You do not have faith in masks you wear or the vaccination that you took, but you want to enforce it on us. ABC offers independent study. I suggest you use it. We are losing firefighters, teachers, police, nurses, doctors, truck drivers, all for mandates. You will lose students as well. In closing, you said the issue was the state's governor. He is no longer requiring mandates. Today, a message went out that it's LA County Public Health. Exercise your local authority. How many kids that attend our school district have died from an on-campus COVID exposure? Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Livia, followed by Kirit Jahan.
Buenas noches. ¿Puedo hablar en español? Buenas noches, miembros de la Junta Directiva. Mi nombre es Livia. Actualmente tengo 2 hijos en el distrito de ABC. Primero que nada, quiero empezar por leerles su misión y la visión de su distrito. La misión del Distrito Escolar Unificado de ABC es desarrollar una comunidad de estudiantes de por vida, pensadores creativos e individuos responsables, proporcionando programas educativos innovadores y de alta calidad en un entorno seguro y de apoyo. Su visión. Creemos que los estudiantes de ABC deberían estar tan bien educados como cualquier otro en el mundo. Creemos que los estudiantes tienen la capacidad de exceder su más alto rendimiento. Creemos que la gente es la prioridad de nuestro distrito y los estudiantes son la razón por la que estamos aquí. Lamento informarles que mi hija y la de muchos padres en este distrito no estamos teniendo la mejor experiencia educativa de estos miembros en estos momentos. Entiendo que estas son las consecuencias que nos dejó la pandemia y lamento que a este punto del año escolar mi hija tenga que estar experimentando el peor año de su vida, debido a sus bajas calificaciones, especialmente en matemáticas. Mi hija está tan baja en sus calificaciones que he tenido que recurrir Mi hija está tan baja en sus calificaciones que he tenido que recurrir a tutoría 2 veces a la semana, teniendo que pagar $150 al mes. Tuve que recurrir a estos servicios porque estas son las consecuencias que está experimentando mi hija debido a que tuvo que estar en cuarentena 2 veces este año sin estar infectada de COVID.
3 minutes.
Lamentablemente, las lecciones de clase tienen que seguir y no la pueden esperar. Esto hizo que ella se retrasara en clases. Las clases de tutoría ahora ofrecen el distrito, tristemente no le sirven a mi hija porque ella necesita ayuda especialmente para ella. Mi hija no solo está experimentando estrés escolar, sino también está experimentando estrés emocional porque ella piensa que ella es el problema, cuando en realidad el problema son estas reglas absurdas de este distrito. Su visión dice, creemos que todos los estudiantes tienen la capacidad de exceder su más alto rendimiento, pero ¿cómo pueden exceder si les ponen cuarentena cuando están perfectamente saludables? Muchas gracias.
Divya.
Board President, can we have some translated?
Livia,
Translate what
muchas
she said.
gracias. Livia, muchas gracias, pero ¿puede dar sus teléfono, número?
Sí.
Yeah.
Mi número para que me contacten.
No lo vaya a dar
es-
público, señora. No lo vaya a dar público. Lo puede poner en la carta. Porque todo esto está por internet y también
Oh,
por
lo está.
televisión.
Ok.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Want me to translate?
Sí.
Madam
Yeah,
President,
can I
would you
have
like-
a summary, please? I would like to hear that. Thanks.
Y señora, si me da permiso, voy a ser atento de, pues de comunicar lo que usted compartió con nosotros, ¿ok? Lo que no haré era lo último, pero voy a tratar. She said she read the mission statement of the district, and she emphasized the fact that the stated vision of our district is that all students should be among the best educated in the world, and that people are what are important in our district, and students are the reason we exist. I'm paraphrasing. It's been a difficult year for her and her family, and her daughter's grades have been suffering because she was put on quarantine twice, and both times being su hija estaba negativo, ¿verdad? She was negative both times, and the alternatives that were offered by ABC were not sufficient to help her daughter catch up and come out ahead. Her daughter feels that it's her fault for not being able to catch up, but in reality, it's the absurd rules that we have to observe with COVID that are at fault for her daughter's struggle. ¿Qué más después de la batalla de su hija, señora? She has to pay $150 a month for tutoring. ¿Por cuántos minutos? For 30 minutes. So it's a cost that she has to pay out of pocket. Y algo más, no sé si me...
Solamente es triste que su visión dice que es importante lo de los niños, pero mi hija no lo está experimentando. Tiene estrés emocional y estrés.
Okay. So she's saying that we say that what our mission statement, what our vision is, however, that's not the experience and the standard that her daughter's experiencing because she has so much stress and emotional distress because of everything that's going on. ¿Más o menos? Sí, claro, señora. Gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Chris. I wish I could speak Spanish. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may, I think this brings up an interesting issue. About 50% of our families in our district are Latino. Maybe it is time for us to have someone on standby, perhaps, that can translate should we have parents or families that choose to do so in their own language.
Yeah,
So something to consider.
I too agree with that, because, we do need some to really know, qualify for translating it. I mean, I know, Chris, you can talk, but I'm
Okay,
just
we'll look
saying.
into that. Okay,
Thank
next
you.
speaker.
Next speaker, Kirit Jahan.
Good evening, Dr. Su, President Yu, VP Beach, Clerk Eugenio, and board members. Let me start by saying that this business of education is about symbiotic relationship in our community. Schools cannot exist without students and parents. Parents need schools so that they can go to work. Children need social interaction with other children if they are to be successful in their future lives. All students, able bodies, mobile, mobility challenged, every race, creed. Let us not debate about who values who and by how much. The number being bashed around social media about teacher salaries. The public compensation varies from district to district. It's a total compensation package. What I would like to say is, one, give the teachers a 5.3% plus 3% back pay, plus more, whatever you come up with. Two, re-bench the salaries by at least $1,000 for every single employee. Why? Because when you give a 5% pay raise to a teacher who's earning $100,000, he or she is going to get $5,000. A teacher who's earning $50,000 will get $2,500. Your clerical workers who are $25,000 will get $1,250. The cost of everything has gone up. It is not enough just to pay. It is important to be equitable. Three, extra pay for extra work. It's one thing for a teacher, and I've been in a classroom, to be asked to sub when the teacher's out. Emergencies happen. That is quite normal. But when that becomes a continual issue, day by day, week by week, you need to do the right thing and pay them the hourly extended work time. So that means above and beyond. 4, CTE teachers are on a completely different schedule.
3 minutes.
Your own public pay schedule has a grid like this for your teachers. Here's a grid for the CTE teachers. How is it possible that a beginning teacher who would start at 56,000 and by the, let's say 20 years down the line, made no other significant improvement, they would be earning 69,000, whereas a teacher earned, CTE teacher teaching here for 20 years would be 61,000. There is gross inequity, not just a minor inequity, gross inequity. Your teachers are qualified. They do have credentials, and they do have degrees. And if they don't, it is your responsibility to bring them up to task. Here is another magnificent grid. The certificated staff, the classified staff salary. So it's important to teach and talk about equity. It's not just about a classroom issue. It's about how we treat all people fairly. You know, everyone talks about gainful employment. My concern is that when students don't get the services from the teachers, their future is forever impacted. They will never have the opportunity to earn the salary that they could have had they finished their classes. Another idea is simply this. You have no magical pot, I get it. Increase the class size by 2 students. Why 2 students? Because then you could give potentially $7,000 to each teacher, plus the benefit and everything that goes with it. And you take the extra student and put a paraeducator in the classroom. The surest way to increase English language learners' English skill is by access to the teacher. Every CLAD teacher knows that. It's the access to the instructor that makes the biggest difference in the students' lives. Yes, we're going to increase class size, but they need access to an adult who's fluent. So let's do right by teachers, also let's do right by our students. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Amanda Tenaik, followed by Itael Yaquez and Joe Guzman.
Hi there. I'm here to discuss my concerns about SB 871 and the governor's mandate for the COVID-19 vaccine for students. The agenda indicates a request to the governor to rescind the mandate, but I believe that it needs to go much further. I request that the board strongly consider a letter of opposition to the bill, and I request that you all, with your stronger voice, to reach out personally to Assemblymember Garcia to discuss concerns, and also to Senator Archuleta, and then most importantly to Senator Pan, who is the author of the bill. Why? Because, of course, the bill goes much beyond what the governor's mandate is going to do. What the bill actually does is takes away the personal belief exemption option. It will also allow the CDPH to add anything, any other future vaccine that could come down the line to the schedule without a legislative process and without a personal belief exemption. So just completely taking parents out of the equation. And of course, you know, this is going all the way down to our little 5-year-olds through 12th grade. The COVID vaccine, it would disregard the fact that for some of those age groups, it's still under emergency use authorization. There's not all the data out there yet. We don't have the data. We won't have that for years. And then parents are going to be forced to do this without any kind of exemption. That's just, I just can't believe it. It does not take into account a natural immunity. The vaccine doesn't stop anyone from getting or transmitting COVID. Lots of people who have the vaccine have gotten COVID, have transmitted COVID. So what's the point of this? What are they trying to do?
3 minutes.
Of course, I'm sure the district is concerned about enrollment. I know that there's a bill out there where they're going to change from ADA to enrollment, possibly. I don't know if it's gone through the legislative process, but either way, a lot of families will just leave. So you'll lose students. LAUSD tried to enforce the COVID vaccine without any exemptions, and then they had a surplus of 34,000 students, and they didn't have the infrastructure to support that for online learning. And so then, of course, they had to backtrack. Several districts surveyed their families, and overwhelmingly, families are not in support of this experiment on their children. So there's been school boards all over California that have been expressing their concern about this. They don't want this mandate. They want to allow a lot more time to go by to see what happens with the data. And so, just a little anecdote, my 9-year-old son, he got COVID. And we didn't know it. We only tested him because we were going to go on a trip. And he had the sniffles for 2 days. I sat right next to him. I cuddled him. I didn't get it. Okay? I ended up getting it about a month later from some other situation. But hardly deadly. Okay? Hardly deadly for a healthy child. And I just also want to tell you, I'm a high school teacher. I work with students and I work with my students all the time. And just today, I'm outside counseling a student who is deeply emotionally distraught. I'm dealing with this on a daily basis, the emotional issues with these students. And so if their parents don't feel comfortable risking the vaccine for them, so then they're going to be forced into isolation again. I mean, suicide is certainly more of a problem with our teens especially than COVID. So we just really need to look at the big picture, and I'm really concerned about what's going to happen with our students under this mandate and the loss of so many students in the district. So I ask you to please use your voice to reach out to the legislators. You have a stronger voice than us, and I thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker, we have Itael Yaquez, followed by Joe Guzman and Kira Chahan.
How do I go after that? That was awesome. So I'm not much of a public speaker. I've been here the past handful of board meetings, and I haven't had the courage to come up and say anything. But I feel like I need to speak on behalf of my children. I have 2 boys that are in the district, and for this 5 to 12, I mean, just the demographic the numbers are not there for them to have to be forced to get this experimental vaccine that there's no long-term studies, there's no information, and not just that, I mean, I'm a woman of faith, God's put it in my heart, I'm not going to do it. And it's sad to say because I love this district. I love the schools, the teachers, everybody has been awesome, but I will be forced to walk away. And that's, and it's sad because I'm new to actually the area, and I've heard so many great things about this district. So I ask that you guys be the voice for us. Give us choice. We as parents, we're the ones that are going to take the responsibility. If something happens to my kid, if there's some long-term that's going to affect them, I'm going to be responsible, not you guys, not the teachers. I'm going to have to take care of that child. So we ask that you respect our religious beliefs, our personal beliefs, just respect our informed decision to not do this to our children. Please, because we are informing ourselves. We are, it's not like we're just saying, oh no, we're going with this and that. No, this is something that we truly believe. And we are the pillars that are going to stand to protect our children. And I'm sorry, but I will have to walk away. That's just the way it has to be. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Last speaker, we have Joe Guzman.
All right, good evening, everyone. You've seen me a couple times already, so pretty familiar face, right? Parent of ABC Unified. I have 5 kids over there sitting right over there. They can stand up. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that are pretty frightening right now. There's local leaders who aren't taking the initiative to make the right choice. They're letting all these other politicians make decisions for us. Now, local leaders at this point have failed us all of them. Mainly, I would have to call out the LA County Board of Supervisors. And this is frightening. This is something that I think we all have to look at from a perspective as a human and as a parent. Because history does repeat itself. Now, let's just say something does happen down the line, and it falls on that other side of that political spectrum. The question is, where will all of you stand? And this is to everybody who's watching. You know, it's very important that we don't hand over critical rights that we have as parents that are pretty much God-given rights to us as a parent for our children. You know, so with that being said, you know, the California Department of Health, Public Health, a lot of people in the district always say that they are just following CDPH guidelines. Let me be clear, the CDPH guidance is just that, and only that. It is a guidance, a non-binding recommendation that schools can disregard. The reason that the CDPH guidelines is not in fact a law or in fact a mandate is for the simple reason
3 minutes
that they have no power to make laws. Legislators pass laws. School boards do not pass laws. State agencies don't pass laws. Secondly, why is it only a guidance? And only that is for the reason that the CDPH failed to follow the statutory required rulemaking process mandated under the Administrative Procedures Act, which is short for APA. What is the Administrative Procedures Act? The APA governs a process by which federal agencies develop and issue regulation. It includes requirements for publishing notices, proposed and final rule making in the Federal Register, and provides opportunities for the public to comment on notices of proposed rulemaking. So now that we know what the CDPH did, you know, they did not follow its due process. It is only and nothing but a recommendation. The district has been breaking the law for the past 2 years, all over a recommended guidance. We hope a resolution can be brought up for dropping all mandates in our district, since no law is backed by the CDPH. So with that being said, there's a lot of things that we seem to let go of. And this is something that we're going to have to learn throughout history. This is a lesson. And the lesson that we have all seen is that local leaders are continuing to fail us, but most importantly them. We're here. I'm 36 years old. You know, thank God I'm made it to this age. My decision over their health is the most important thing. We control what they eat. We make sure the proper nutrition is there. I can imagine that nobody here will be there to support me
1 minute
should my children fall ill 5 years from now from a mandate that's placed against pretty much our will, against theirs. So that being said, it's a learning process. I know we all fell into this COVID thing without, you know, it just hit us. You know, a lot of us didn't live through the pandemic back in 1918. But this is something that we're on our second year, going in, our third year. Why? Every policy that's been put out has put us back here. Nothing's changed. So just with that being said, I would like you all to just consider your place as a public servant, serving what's most important is them, not me. Thank you.
Madam President, there are no more speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Eugenio. We do have the agenda to the left, if the public wants to grab the agenda. And should we just take the last speaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Point of order, Madam President. Are you suggesting that because of the information item we have, that it would be of value to so many of those who are here today? You can see a copy that will address many of your concerns over there by the door. So thank you, Madam President, for pointing that out. There's plenty of copies if you'd like to see that information item, which we'll be discussing tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, we do have one more speaker, Alberto Lopez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alberto Lopez, and I'd like to start off by saying that I support the ABC Unified School District teachers, and I feel like they are severely underappreciated. That being said, tonight I want to bring attention to the other employees of ABC Unified, who also deserve recognition by the board and the district. I've been a paraeducator for ABC for the last 20 years. I love my job, and I love working with the children of ABC. But I have deep disdain for the system that the school has for the paraeducators. I've been working here for 20 years. And when I first started, we were paid 30% above minimum. Today it's 3%. Minimum wage has gone up, but our pay has not really gone up. Slightly, but not as fast enough pace. I can remember, for as long as I can remember, this has been the system that we've had. We are treated as substitutes or called substitutes, but I'm not a substitute. I don't substitute for anybody. When I go to a job site, I'm given my task. I'm not substituting for someone else. And yet, the way we are treated in some ways is we are not allowed to get direct payments into our bank accounts of our choice. We are not allowed to get pay raises individually. It doesn't matter how long we've worked for the school district. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of the board.
3 minutes.
For those that don't know what paraeducators do, we do whatever the district asks us. We are sometimes asked to work in the district office as needed, and during hybrid learning, we were asked to take the temperatures of the children. We didn't get a stipend for that. It was just our regular pay. We were just asked to come in a little bit earlier. More commonly, we're tasked with helping students with special needs, and we do so without proper training. One would think that the district would train all of its workers that are going to be working with these wonderful students and to give us the tools and skills that are necessary to help these children. But it's the teachers who are the ones that have to do the on-the-job training, and that isn't fair to the students, nor is it fair to the teachers. Our neighboring school districts are paying about $20 or more an hour. Well, we're getting $15.83. I made $13,000 last year and $15,000 the years before that, working 6 hours out of my day to help the students. That is 6 out of 8 hours would be considered a part-time job, but some paras are only asked to work 3 hours, as was considered a, what's it called, permanent para, while the rest of us, the majority of us, are considered substitute paras. This school year, I've had to say goodbye to 5 other colleagues who decided that they no longer wanted to work in our classroom because they are not paid a living wage. This isn't fair to the teachers who have to train new paras every time a new one is brought in, and especially not fair to the students who have to come and depend on us to be there for them. Instead, they have to say goodbye. 5 paras in one class. And then we don't even have coverage. When a para is out, they're supposed to have a substitute para come in. Today, that happened. We did not get coverage. The system is failing us. We are not hiring the amount of paras that we need, and they're not being trained properly. In addition to that, we are asked to do the Keenan training off duty. I don't feel that's fair. At first, we were asked to do it for 30 minutes. That ballooned to about 4 hours. I don't feel like that's appropriate. I feel like if we are asked to do a task, we should be paid for it. If we are asked to do it off hours, it's recorded. The amount of minutes are there for people to get paid. I want to say this to all the paras out there who are listening. Seek me out. If something doesn't change, change will come. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Next we have, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved, Apodaca.
Eugenio, second.
Anyone who wishes to remove any item to be considered separately? If none? all
I
those-
do, Madam President.
Okay.
4.1-C.
Pages are.
Huh? Under business support services, page 3. Or in the agenda. 43 in the information. Oh, I just want discussion.
Okay.
So I wanted clarification, because I've seen this item before, and I noticed that usually it's itemized, so am I to understand that that is the cumulative amount and the money goes directly to the schools?
That is correct.
Okay, that was it.
That's it? Okay. So, can we vote now? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is timed item. A through G completion improvement grant plan. Dr. Mayfield.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Sue Yu, members of the board, and Dr. Sue. Tonight, the board and community will hear a presentation on the A to G Completion Improvement Grant, which provides additional support to districts to help increase the number of California high school students who graduate and meet the A to G eligibility requirement, which is a requirement for admissions into California State University as well as the University of California. These additional funds are intended particularly to help support students who are representative of our unduplicated student population, but they can also be used to support all other students. By April the 1st, the district is required to provide a plan for the board to consider for approval. And in that plan, we must address specifically our initiatives that will help increase and improve student access and ability to meet the A to G requirement. It is my pleasure to introduce the secondary team who will present to the board the A to G Improvement Grant Plan. Carol Castro is the secondary supervisor of curriculum and instruction, and joining her this evening is Brian Klonchak, who is the secondary program specialist, and Loretta Almeida Gomez, who is our secondary district EL counselor. Ms. Castro.
Thank you, Dr. Mayfield. Good evening, Mrs. Suyu, President of the Board, Mr. Brad Beach, Vice President of the Board, Dr. Michael Eugenio, Clerk, Board members, Dr. Chris Apodaca, Dr. Olga Rios, Ms. Sophia Say, our Superintendent, Dr. Mary Sue, members of Cabinet, and our community members. I'm honored to be here to provide you with this information. And as we get started, I do want to make sure that I provide you some information on some technical definitions that we'll be referring to in regards to this grant. The first is the definition of an A through G course. An A through G course is a course that may be used to satisfy A through G subject matter requirements for the admission to California State University and the University of California. These are approved by an organization that is brought together by our UC system, known as the UC Doorway System, and we submit our courses for approval to the system to make sure that we are in compliance in terms of our curriculum and our pacing guides with what the expectations of our UC and Cal State are. A through G eligibility, this means that the student has satisfied the A through G subject matter requirements, which I will show you later in the presentation, in order to be able to be selected for admission to Cal State University and for University of California. And it should be noted that they must be eligible by receiving a grade of C or better in the required course. So it's important to note that for our graduation requirements, we ask students to pass with a D or better, but for UCs and Cal States, they require a C or better in order to be acknowledged for admission. The next definition I will review is our A through G subject requirement, and here you could just see the requirements as they stand right now from A through G. Again, this means that students have to meet those requirements at the end of their 4 years. Please note that there are some additional recommendations. So for example, for language other than English, although 2 years is required, they do recommend 3 years. So that is one example. It should also be noted that there are differences with our graduation requirements. So in some areas, there are more requirements by the UC, while in other areas there are not. So it's just important to know that they have aligned some areas, but they do not align across the board. Next, part of Education Code 41590 for the A through G Improvement Grant provides us additional supports to our agency, to ABC Unified, to increase the number of high school students that are eligible for A through G. This extends the support that was established by the A through G learning loss mitigation to make sure that our students who received a D or F during the spring semester of 2020 or the 2020-2021 school year were able to make up any lost grades. So any Fs or Ds, that students would be able to actually make up those grades so that they could receive a grade of C or higher and improve their qualifications for entrance into a UC. I was here last time, if you recall, and last time we also discussed some of our data. So I'll remind you of some of that, which is that in ABC, 60.5% of our graduating students meet their A through G requirements. Of our total EL students, 30% meet A through G requirements. For our students who are under low socioeconomically disadvantaged, are 50.3% meet A through G, 13% of students with disabilities. Now, although those numbers aren't 100%, which we would love to see that eventually in the future, we would love to increase those numbers, we have been increasing since 2017-18, which we had 54% for our total then, and now again, we've improved to 60.5%. So there has been an improvement over the years. And that includes in our time frame during COVID. For the A through G Access Grant, there are some requirements that they want to make sure that we include in the grant. And they include, but they're not limited to, professional development for teachers, administrators, and counselors on how to better support students to achieve A through G eligibility. To develop comprehensive academic and support plans so that when students start their high school career, that there's one-to-one advising plans that students can understand what their goals are year for year, how they can meet those eligibility requirements, if they're falling behind, what they can do in terms of enrichment or summer school programs or tutoring offered at the school site. So those advising plans are really important to kind of keep our students on track, and we do those yearly. Expand access to coursework to satisfy A through G course requirements, and we do have different avenues of doing that, but we want to make sure students have all the avenues available to them. This can include dual enrollment, courses in the summer. This can include AP courses as such. It should be important to note that we have a line item in our LCAP that supports A through G as well, but this is to not supplant that, this is to supplement that. So this is to add more resources for our schools. I have an amazing team that I work with that really have helped us move forward with our A through G. Brian Glonchak, our program specialist, really handles all the course aspects of A through G and works with our assistant principals of curriculum to ensure that we are always up to date with guidelines, policies, and really thinking and looking at the data about how we can improve our practices. New to our team is our district EL counselor, and as I was able to present to you last time, we talked about the role of the EL counselors, and that's Nareda Armenta Gomez, who's here as well, and she's going to share with you now how the EL counselors played a pivotal role in receiving community input for the decisions on this grant. Nareda?
Good evening, board members, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Mary Sue, members of cabinet and community members. I'm honored to be here this evening to provide you this information. I'm Nereida Armenta Gomez, EL counselor. In this slide, you will see the results of our community input. Our EL counselors, along with district personnel, conducted a phone survey from middle and high school parents, and we received a total of 446 responses. And in this, we saw represented the unduplicated population in our district. One of the survey questions asked participants to priority rank 3 proposed initiatives: highly qualified staff, supports for student success, and the expanding of course offerings. The table below displays how the initiatives were ranked as first priority. Now, Brian will further discuss the details of the survey and the ratings.
Good evening, board members, cabinet members, and community. I want to go into a little more detail for you about these proposals that were presented to the parents as part of this survey and how they ranked out. Receiving the highest priority rank, number 1 there, was to hire and retain qualified high school counselors to provide expanded guidance for career and college to our students and their families, particularly for the unduplicated students who in this district are socioeconomically disadvantaged, English learners, homeless, and foster youth. And so we have already begun this work. This is something that actually Nereida, who just spoke, is one of the counselors we have recently hired that, along with the team, that we would love to retain, as they were hired with temporary funds from the state at this time. And so we want to retain them and expand the work that they do. At this point, they've already been instrumental in changing our reclassification process for students from a 1 or 2 time a year look at how students did on an LPAC or an exam to a year-round ongoing process where students and families understand what they're engaged in as English language learners and are striving to achieve the next level for themselves and have access to all of the different offerings at our school sites, career tech ed, advanced coursework, and various programs to attain their goals. And so adding additional counselors, retaining these that we have hired this year that are just getting started was ranked as number 1 by over half of the respondents in the survey, said that that would be the highest priority, to really assist with that guidance, to help make sure that there's good communication, that students are not missing opportunities for lack of knowledge or lack of someone paying attention to their needs. Ranking second here was to extend the supports for students' academic success in college preparatory coursework. And so this could entail tutoring, prep programs for advanced placement, other types of interventions that we may do, because it is best to intervene before a student fails or gets a D or an F. And so we do need to continue to expand and increase the work that we do on our school sites with our staff and potentially even with outside vendors, as we've been doing recently during COVID, to be able to provide the support so that students don't earn grades lower than a C in the first place. And obviously we also have course credit recovery as needed after that. So expanding those supports for students, looking for some new ways to do that work, to fill in those gaps that they may have in their knowledge now that are causing their struggles, and lifting them up so that they can be successful, and that success breeds more success as they go forward is really the heart of number 2 that was, as was ranked by our families. And the third proposal that was ranked there was to expand some course offerings, and particularly to expand the access for our unduplicated students, some of our ELs and low socioeconomic students who are underrepresented in certain college preparatory coursework, to make sure that they access that coursework, that they are able to not only access but be successful in those courses, and to provide some different avenues for college level coursework, whether it's advanced placement, expanding what we offer there, dual enrollment so they can get college and high school credit simultaneously while they're enrolled with us, or early college programs. We've started one at Whitney, and we're working on potentially starting another one in the near term. So that's another avenue to get students college ready. That was ranked as a third priority in the proposals. And some key components here, as I kind of explained, the retaining those counselors is something that work has already started, but we want to be able to extend and expand that work to reach all different groups. We've started with some EL counselors. We may need to hire others or expand the scope of the work that they do to reach all of our unduplicated students. Continuing the tutoring support would be very specific to A through G credits and those courses that are needed. We've been taking a look at the courses that our students tend to struggle with and that become the hindrance for them to be UC A to G eligible, and focusing on the supports aimed very specifically at those areas so that we can overcome those barriers to their eligibility for four-year colleges right out of high school. And I'm going to invite Ms. Castro back to talk to you about the last two. Thank you.
The last two proposals are to research and adopt the AP Capstone program. This is a program offered by College Board, which would improve and implement two courses at our school sites, which is AP Research and AP Seminar, taken in the junior and senior year. These courses are really open access courses for our students. As you know, many of our AP courses are subject specific. So if you've achieved high marks for AP Calculus and you want to continue, you then take, if you've done well in math, you continue and take AP Calculus. If you've been doing well in science and you want to continue your learning, you do, and you're interested in the STEM field, you would then take AP Bio or AP Chemistry. And we want to offer those courses to students with tutoring support so that they can continue to do well, or that we can have students attend those courses that normally wouldn't. But what if you're not interested in one of those fields? What if you're not sure what you want to do yet, but you do want to expand your knowledge, you want to meet those A through G requirements, and you want to keep your options open? And that's what that AP Capstone program would do. It really helps students discover their passions, research a local problem or issue, and work collaboratively with others to present information on that research and propose solutions to a board that would then determine whether they've passed their AP Capstone program. Increasing dual enrollment offerings for transferable courses to UC and Cal State. So back in December, you had approved our College and Career Access Pathway proposal. So we do have a CCAP agreement with Cerritos College. And so we want to continue to increase those offerings. We've seen a lot of success with over 80% of the students who are enrolled in our CCAP programs passing those classes. And we have expanded our course offerings. I remember way back in 2016 when we first started this program, we had one class of 30. And now we have close to 200 students that are taking dual enrollment courses in various courses around ABC Unified, where the professors actually come to the campus, or recently, because of COVID, they're taking it online in either a hybrid format or a synchronous format. So seeing that success, we definitely want to continue those options for our school sites and be able to offer more of that either at the campuses or virtually as well, or even in our summer programs. That does conclude my presentation for this evening regarding the A through G grant. I just want to remind you that all of this information was done with the input of our families and communities, particularly for those students that these funds are intended to target, which is our unduplicated pupil. I said that too many times this evening now. And we appreciate your support, and as always, our main goal is student achievement of all of our students in ABC. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have discussion and questions. Board members, we have Dr. Rios.
Thank you. A few comments. I'm very, very, very excited about this. I am a proponent that everyone should go to college because we know that it can significantly impact your earnings throughout your lifetime, and it has all kinds of other benefits. But not everyone chooses to go to college. But the idea that we as a school district should prepare every student to be college ready, I think we all can get behind. You gave me some numbers, and is it Dr. Castro or not yet?
Not yet. One more. May of 2023.
Almost. Okay. By high school, 60%, that number seems impressive. I like to ask staff to give us numbers by high school because I know that's a district number. And I'm curious to know, for example, at Ortiz High School, what those numbers are for those, the unduplicated students. And I look forward to seeing that number grow because this is a great program. The other thing is that I was hoping to see a little bit more of direct services. Because we've seen achievement data, and we know that our unduplicated students struggle with reading at grade level and performing at grade level, and so I can imagine that if they're going to be expected to pass A through G requirement classes with the C or better, that they're going to need support. And I did hear tutoring, and I did hear, counselors, which play an important role, but we know that teachers are the number one factor in determining student achievement. I hope to see a little bit more included in that area. And yeah, that's pretty much it, that, I'm totally behind this idea of every student graduating high school, college ready, and whether they choose to go to college or not is their choice, not ours. Thank you.
Also, next question.
Yeah. Carol,
Sophia, say?
This grant is continuously or just for a certain period of the time? Because you were talking about page 7, hire and retain additional qualified school counselor, this and that, so on forth.
These funds need to be expended by 2026.
So it's like 4 years?
Well, they would begin in 2023, and so it's a 3-year
3 years.
grant.
3 years. And then you asking to hire more staff on that for this?
Well, we have hired some staff with our ELOG funds that are finishing out in 2023, and so to be able to retain them and expand their work so that they now can better support a wider variety of students and support our initiatives with A through G as well.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the grant stock, what's going to happen, for the thing. And the other thing is I have a question about page 3. And we're talking about A through G and language other than English, because I do know we have a really nice Spanish immersion program right now, starting from very young all the way up to the high school. And then we do mention about before the Chinese or Korean immersion. Do you have the plan into this program yet or not yet? Because you're talking about A through G under number E.
Right, under number E, those would be the classes that would be taken while they're in high school.
Only the high school.
Certainly, those kind of programs prepare them better to be able to be successful in those classes. So we continue to work with our school sites and partner with them to strengthen and to certainly grow the dual immersion program at the various school sites that we currently have it, and really studying and examining how we can expand this at other school sites as well.
The last part that we were talking about, I said here, I had the highlight here. When we talk about the grant to help, we just heard the parents about it due to this COVID things, a lot of students are staying home, missing their school, missing their education. Does it also consider that? I know you focus on high school, most likely here. Have you ever thought about those kids? I mean, in the future, maybe we can get some grant from other to support this, especially during summer.
Yeah, so we have a lot of LCAP funds directed towards that, so I'm glad that parents are looking for support because we have a huge summer enrichment program even for our middle and high schoolers. We have incoming 6th grade prep, which would prepare students better for their experience in middle school. We have 7th and 8th grade math and English opportunities, which would help them develop better their reading, writing skills, as well as their math skills. We have enrichment programs for students who are not struggling as well, so that all students can continue their learning. We have Language Excels for English learners in the summer. We have 9th grade high school prep, so if a student's going from middle school to high school, they are also getting ready for those critical high school years, meeting their counselors, taking campus tours. So there's many enrichment opportunities that we provide students. We offer dual enrollment in the summer as well. So those will be coming out soon. Usually we send those out about the end of March. Registration for schools happen first, and then during that time, they start to talk to the kids about summer school registration. So definitely more information to come on summer school registration and all those programs. And the tutoring support here, yes, critically we are talking about high school. And we are expanding our tutoring services even now because some of our tutoring services have been happening virtually, but they are starting to shift to in-person tutoring now that our surge is on a decline, so that we are seeing that more of our tutoring services are happening in person, both at the middle school and at the high school.
So glad, because board member Dr. Olga mentioned about, the education is very important. When university or college, not all of them want to go that route, but still we need to pay attention to small kids, like Miss Linda, right? Is it Linda? Linda, right? Because you mentioned about she has to pay $150 for tutoring her child stay home. I think a lot of times the people and our parents here not aware of we have such great program out there to help you, to assist you, and you miss that. But again, not too late still. Keep, I do know we have a lot of Spanish language on our website to help the parents, right?
We do. We're able to translate our website into multiple languages.
And I encourage your parent to talk to site council, ask them about program that can help you instead of you pay on your own pocket.
Ms. Day, if I can add to that, we've been offering free tutoring at all of our schools for the last 2 years.
Yes.
And so I would definitely encourage our parents to contact the school to ask how to access the free tutoring that's been available for our students from kindergarten through high school, and we've been providing that service for the last 2 years.
I love it.
So if they're not aware of it, please contact your school and ask how to access those resources.
I don't know. That's why I think so important. I think Dr. Olga mentioned about, and you mentioned about we need a translator here, because a lot of people, not everyone to look on the computer, and so we do need to provide some translator, or we can maybe give them a headset for the people that we have here to make sure they utilize the best thing we have provided to you folks here. Yeah, I think that would be very good. Thank you again. I'm glad you raised your voice in there, because I do know I went to the couple elementary school. We have afternoons program. We even have a Saturday program. Remember that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. For this grant, is it specifically for the low socioeconomic unduplicated students only, or does this grant will be applicable to all the high school students?
So the funds are intended to support our unduplicated students much in the same way that our LCAP funds, our supplemental LCAP funds are. So we designed the services to support those students as needed first. And then, of course, we always offer after that to the remaining students as needed. But we make sure that we kind of keep in mind all of our students, but it is meant to offer to support our unduplicated students.
And this grant is specifically targeted for those students?
Yes.
Okay. So what is you don't have to answer right now, but I would like to get a report from the staff on what is the student ratio with the counselor. Because the supporting the students in terms of this college preparatory, the one-on-one counseling is very important. And I would like to know how many times do they get a chance to meet? What's the plan? Are they going to be able to meet like once a month or once a semester or once a year? I think it would be very helpful to have that, information for us. And, so, okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's very encouraging. We're going to see a big rise of A through G qualified students. Okay, next we have action item 1.1-A. May I have a motion to approve the Board of Education to vote for no more than 6 names from the list of candidates or write-in candidates to be submitted to California School Boards Association on or before March 15, 2022.
So moved, Apodaca.
Eugenio, second.
Any public comments, discussion?
I do not see any public comments, Madam President, on this item.
Okay, discussion. We have Dr. Rios.
I was just going to suggest that we adopt the entire slate. It's 6 openings, and there are 6 people. And again, a lot of this is and admirable that they even came forward to want this job. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, next we have.
Sorry.
Sophia Six?
You know, I also suggest in the future we should nominate our own board. Because I know Norway you should have a 2 or 3 or 4 even representative. I think it's so important. I was once before. I think once you're in the crowd, you know a lot of things will happen really in CSBA. You can bring it back to share with us. So right now we only have one person, which is Mr. Ernie Nishii. So in the future, I suggest our secretary, Dr. Sue, please try to remind our staff and recommend 1 or 2 people also running for this CSBA delegate position. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 21-66 to release from employment and non-reelect temporary certificated employees per Education Code 44954?
Motion to adopt, Eugenio.
May I have a second? Any second?
Second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Any public comments or discussion?
I see no public comments, Madam President.
Okay. Any discussion? We have Chris Apodaca.
Thank you, Madam President. So just really quick for staff, we're required to do this every year by law, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a requirement, and the list is a little longer because we do have a number of employees that we hired additionally because of the online independent study program, and also in addition with the 19 teachers we have in our elementary schools for the reading intervention programs.
So this is standard though for us?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the second interim report for the period ending January 31st, 2022 with a positive certification?
So moved.
Second, Apodaca.
Okay. Mr. Nguyen?
Thank you, Board President Su. Board President Yu. Good evening. This is a third budget update for the fiscal year. The board adopted the budget in June. That's the initial budget adoption by the board. In December, where we had the first interim report where all the update was made after the state adopted their budget. So that was December. In March, again, we are required to bring to the board a second update of the budget. Since December, however, through now, there has been no material changes to the budget in terms of revenues and expenditures. Now, this is to say that this is as of today. This budget update has not included any potential tentative agreements that the board will consider in the future with the different employee groups. So again, this has not factored that information in. So on page 61, this is the second interim report. Again, this is a third update. We are happy to report that we are able to meet all financial obligations for the current year and also in the next 2 years. So that is one of the requirements, is that we have to positively certify that the district has sufficient financial resources to meet all financial obligations for the current year and the next 2 years. So on page 61, to start with, this is the unrestricted general fund. If you recall, there's always two parts within the general fund, the unrestricted and the restricted. The unrestricted programs, as the name implies, the school board have full control over this money. So revenues, total revenues coming in with no change as $209.3 million. In terms of expenditures, it's come in at $173.1 million, and then we have $33 million transferring out to support the restricted programs such as maintenance and special education. Therefore, we have a net change in funding of about $2.7 million. So this is a positive increase in your fund balance, bringing your fund balance to $27.6 million. Again, this is unrestricted, and this is as of March 1st. Moving on to page 62, This is restricted program. We receive these funds with strings attached. The one you just saw earlier is an example. The A through G grant, supplemental grant. That grant is as an example of a restricted program where we receive the funds and the state, the grantor in this situation, tell us how to spend the money. So the federal programs, $28.3 million, all these federal funds always restricted. These are programs such as ESSER 1, 2, 3, and also the Title I, Title II, Title IV programs. So any federal money that we receive always comes with strings attached. There's state revenues of about $35.9 million. And again, this is restricted. These are special ed programs, the A through G requirement, the ELOC programs. So all those either one-time or ongoing categorical program, as we call it, is considered restricted. So bringing in a total of $67.3 million. In terms of expenditures, for this program, as you can see, it's much higher than the revenues at $105 million, but that's why you have the transferring in. And this is the local support for the programs that I mentioned, like special education. So all in all, we are spending down about $6.9 million of the restricted program, but we still have about $22 million in there. And for the restricted programs, you always want your revenues to equal your expenditures. If it's not, then it's a timing of the funds. We get the money now, but we have 3 or 4 years to spend down the money, just like the program you just heard. We have until 2026 to spend down the money. So there's always that timing, and you always see a fund balance, but eventually we always have to spend down the money. Otherwise, you would have to return the money to the grantor. So that is on page 62. Moving along to page 65. This is projections that you want to see. 64 and 65 is a 3-year projection. I mentioned the current year and also the next 2 years. And as you recall, in 22-23, the last projection that you saw, there was a negative expenditure, but now it's a positive of $204,000. That is because the state has updated the COLA. It used to be 3.5%, but now the projected COLA for next year is about 5.3%, and that was as of last month. There's new information that will come down out in May that indicating that the COLA could even be higher because inflation, as you know, is north of 7%. So I was told that COLA next year could potentially be more than 6%, not the 5.33 as is right now. So that is also a number that keeps changing. The budget is fluid. That's the point here, is it change daily. So, but as of right now, and that's why I always emphasize that, we have a positive fund balance for the current year and the next 2 years. This is, again, before any action by the board on tentative agreements with the different union groups. That's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wen. Are there any public comments?
President.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Dr. Rios?
Well, I'm just very happy to see such a healthy ending balance, meaning that our students will hopefully continue to be serviced even more so in the coming years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wen. That was a very helpful report, always. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Okay, now we have 1.2-I. Request to Governor Gavin Newsom to rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for public and private K-12 students as a requirement for in-person instruction. I'm going to call on Board Member Mr. Beach.
Thank you, Madam President, for putting this item on the agenda. I greatly appreciate it. Let me preface my comments by saying that medical decisions for children should be made by the parents. Also, this draft was a template and needs to be reworked. Many of the articles, case law, and studies were listed for more research to be done. But basically, children should not be forced to take a vaccine that is not fully approved and has no long-term studies like all the other approved vaccines that they take. This next portion I'm going to read, I would like to be the verbatim resolution and letter that we send to the governor. I've made the edits myself since receiving this. This is a request to Governor Gavin Newsom to rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for public and private K-12 students as a requirement for in-person instruction and to oppose Senate Bill 866 and 871. The ABC Unified School District, serving over 19,000 students in Cerritos, California, has been a leader in getting students back into the classroom. On October 1, 2021, California Governor Gavin Newsom directed the California Department of Public Health, the CDPH, to add COVID-19 vaccines to other required for in-person school attendance pursuant to Cal Health and Safety Code, HSC, Section 120.335, subsection B, subsection 11, pursuant to which the COVID-19 vaccines would require FDA approval and would, under HSC Section 120.338, be subject to personal belief exemptions. On January 24, 2022, Senate Bill 871 was proposed by Senator Richard Pan to repeal HSC 120.338 regarding personal belief exemptions entirely and add COVID-19 to the diseases against which immunization would be required as a condition for in-person school attendance without requiring that such immunization be FDA approved. Also on January 24, 2022, Senate Bill 866 was proposed by Senators Scott Wiener and Richard Pan to enable a 12 years of age or older to consent to receipt of an FDA-approved vaccine without the consent of the parent or guardian for the minor. As the Board of Trustees for the ABC Unified School District, we are bound to protect the health and well-being of our students. Thus, school districts may take such action as reasonably necessary to maintain order, protect property, or protect the health and safety of pupils, or to maintain proper and appropriate conditions conducive to learning. Pursuant to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, the survival rate of children ages 0 to 18 years with COVID-19 is 99.99997%. Pursuant to the CDC and the Director, COVID vaccines do not prevent infection or transmission of COVID-19. The CDC lists the following serious adverse events from the COVID vaccine, predominantly present in adolescents and otherwise healthy children, including but not limited to myocarditis, pericarditis, anaphylaxis, thrombosis, thrombocytopenia syndrome, Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS, Bell's palsy, and death. Many parents, included COVID-vaccinated parents, do not wish to subject their children to the novel technology of the COVID vaccine for which there is no longitudinal data, yet known severe risks, especially when children have a statistically nearly 0% risk of injury or death from COVID-19, and the COVID vaccines have failed to prevent infection or transmission of the virus. Parents should retain the right to exercise this personal medical decision on behalf of their children based on the child's medical background, their own religious and personal beliefs, and their child's mental, physical, and sociological health should not be penalized by the state for exercising such freedoms and inalienable rights. We believe the proposed vaccine mandate will result in large numbers of families choosing to leave traditional in-person K-12 schools. This will significantly and negatively impact the quality of education for children. More importantly, it will cause substantial psychological and emotional damage to children who have already suffered so much during this pandemic and the forced lockdowns. Such injury is evidenced by the multitude of suicides during the past year in which children 18 years of age and younger. If families leave traditional K-12 schools or leave the state of California due to the proposed vaccine mandate, public and private school staff jobs will be lost. Some parents will leave the workforce to provide homeschooling. If a significant number of jobs are disrupted in this manner, it could have a negative effect on the state economy, as it did during the months of distance learning. The governor and the ABC Unified School District have acknowledged that the best academic and social emotional outcomes for students come from traditional in-person classroom instruction. While the Board of Trustees of the ABC Unified School District understands and supports the goals of the governor and the CDPH to stop the spread of COVID-19, we believe that the governor's proposed K-12 student vaccine mandate, Senate Bill 866 and Senate Bill 871, are ill-advised and in opposition to the educational and social-emotional goals of the state and this district, as well as legal responsibilities of this school board. The superintendent of the ABC Unified School District is directed to send this letter to Governor Gavin Newsom, Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, Dr. Barbara Ferrer, Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, Assemblywoman Christina Garcia, Senator Bob Archuleta, Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon, Senator Pan, and Senator Wiener. That concludes the actual letter, but I'd like to make just a couple more comments. Our responsibility as a board is to protect all kids. Nothing in this letter prohibits parents from getting their kids vaccinated. Only 38% of kids 5 through 11 in LA County are vaccinated. And Black and Hispanic students are the lowest vaccinated populations. This will impact them the most. ABC is just under 50% vaccinated in that age group. I humbly ask this board to support this resolution and letter to be sent out on our behalf to protect all of our kids. I'd love to hear from my board colleagues and then get consensus to formally agendize this at our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have a public comment. Can you call up the...
First comment is from Kira Chauhan.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Brad. So I cannot respond to the letter the way that you read it right now. I can only respond to what was posted. So what I'd like in this letter is that for the first time, I want to applaud you as a board for taking action. As a board, you should be advocating for issues that affect students. Many times, this board has merely said "me too" with clauses what other people did. So it's important that every board advocate. Now, I may not agree with the content, but it is important for every board to advocate. So in starting with Senate Bill 866, what I'd like to just tell you, just for the record, so that you understand, Family Code, Section 6924 says, a minor who is 12 years of age or older may consent to. Now, we can debate this, and I'd love to have let's say, a board discussion about this, but this already currently exists. So I understand the intent here is to stop using this part to give the vaccine. I believe in parent choice, and I fully agree with that. Where this kind of rubs me a little bit wrong way is in the doctrine of loco parentis, as the letter was stated. And it is a term that is commonly used in education. And loco parentis means in place of parent. School district must develop student codes of conduct which districts have right to enforce. Nowhere is there a cultural norm. Who are you as a parent, local parent, to understand my cultural values or the values of these parents?
3 minutes.
This is one of those areas where we must have an open discussion. We can't just go glibly around it. Different principles use that term in different ways. And if you don't believe me, you go and talk to the parents. Because here's an example. What if a student needs medical transport from school to a hospital treatment and a parent or guardian cannot pay? Generally, the minor cannot legally consent to the treatment or nor legally refuse it because the district stands in loco parentis. So where do we stand? Where do we make this argument of what we will allow, what we won't allow, what is reasonable, what is not reasonable? So I'd love to have a good discussion about it. There was in here, which I think was removed, there was a conclusion statement which said, in other words, not one healthy child has died from. I wouldn't make that statement. You do not have all empirical data. And then you have to clinically define what is healthy. Are all children in ABC healthy? Or should, if they're not healthy, not come to school? Underlying conditions vary. Our biggest risk population are not the students, it's the teachers. As you age, believe it or not, your comorbidity from various factors will go up. Vaccines are no more than a personal medical treatment. I think it's an option. I believe in the science of vaccines, and the reason I say that is in the late 1800s, you were lucky if you lived to be 40. Now we take it for granted that people will live until 80. Why? Vaccines. It's the biggest miracle that allows us to live the way that we do. So give parents a choice. Let's have a bigger discussion about what in loco parentis means and what it means to have good options for our students and parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Michael Eugenio.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Mr. Vice President Brad Beach, for writing an extensive information item. If this vaccine were to go into effect in our district, we will no doubt cripple our already declining enrollment. Parents are already mulling over the thought of fleeing our district to homeschool, or for that matter, fleeing the state should the COVID-19 vaccine mandate be implemented in our district. But more importantly, we face potential harm to our children whose families would be forced to vaccinate their child against their will. The VAERS reporting data, short for Vaccine Adverse Event Reaction System, a government website, states from December 20th to present, in the U.S. alone, there have been 715,857 adverse reactions. Of those, 11,413 cases have resulted in permanent disability after COVID vaccination. This is the risk we face if we were to abide by this mandate, a risk we're taking with a virus with a survival rate of 99.9975%. Again, a survival rate of 99.9975%. I am advocating that medicating your child should be a choice and not a mandate forced upon the unwilling. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Eugenio. Next, we have Board Member Sophia Say.
First of all, I want to introduce the public. I am nurse practitioner in pediatric. I work the neonatal intensive care unit and pediatric unit. I'm a content expert through the BRN board. So when I'm speaking about this, I want to speak from my heart, also speak with my colleague, all the expert pediatrician, and also the local lawyer. It's what's going to happen to our child. You have a rights, but other people also have a rights. We have parents say, yes, we don't want our kids to have vaccine. The decision has to be made by us. Then we also have other parents say, no, I want the kids to be vaccinated. So there's a responsibility and the respect and dedicate. My job here to be fair. I think I want to remind my colleague here too. We need to understand what position we're standing here. We can't divide our district to two parts. We support this mandate to no mandate. Well, what about those parents who want to be mandated? What about the government say mandated? So I carefully reviewed tonight. When we talking about no case died by COVID, I'm sorry, sir. Skylar Herbert, the daughter of firefighter and police officer, who had no underlying health issue and died. This is a 2020 COVID. And more information here. Out of the children also died at 12,800 due to the COVID. I personally work in a hospital. I have to tell you the truth. If I don't speak out, say, yeah, no mandate, you're not electing me here for this position. I'm here as a representative for the people. I have people. Dr. Spitzer is graduate from here, and I spoke to her. She's APA from there, and I also a member of American Pediatric Association. We see the things and we treat the COVID big child because this is my expert area. So I also have to speak out for other part of the parents. Just like a long time ago, we're fighting for the RSV. I think I mentioned to board member before that there was a doctor come out and say, RSV is not really happened. No, it was happened. I was right there. I fly with the helicopter. The child was drowning in the ventilator. I suction kids. Every time I suction kids, you know what? I'm worried because I'm worried about cerebral palsy in the kids. The kids was running oxygen there. So I have to back at the patient with the oxygen. I know I have a lady here. You say you work in the hospital. I understand that. When you take care of COVID, when you go into the patient's room, do you wear a mask? Do you wear regular mask or N95? N95, am I right? Do you wear cap and gown? Yes, you are. What do? My son put a catheter in the patient. My son's a doctor, worked UCLA. Every time he comes home, I think I mentioned to the board here before, he made it very clear. Mom, if I die, you will make sure to cover my children too. We are the front line, and I am here, and I heard you. To me, I want to tell my board here, the decisions are not made by the board. And really, we're talking about the legislature, or talking this and that, but I really think there's the content expert, the physician, the exempt, the doctor exempt. If your child qualifies for that, they will write an order for you. They will. I know sometimes you check your head, no, I understand that. Because they will be audited because there was incident happen. A lot of cases, there was outburst MMR, measles. So they have to reboost the kids. And then what we hear is, to me, I'm speaking for my behalf. I'm here looking your benefit. I'm also looking for the other side of parent benefit here. It's our decision say no vaccine, no mandate vaccine. What about people at home today? They're so worried. So I'm going to read my information out to you guys, okay? So the information board, Vice President Ms. Beach, the information you have, I have all the data here. To support some of the information has page to page, some of the information is not correct. That we present to the public and use a draft. Does our lawyer get involved to read the things we send it to the public? Because you state the draft. Because some of the information is not accurate, I have to say that. Because based on which side you cite. We all write an essay for your graduate program. You can change the data to meet your needs, so it's not accurate. Either or both sides. We're still debating right now. It's our decision to put out, say, no vaccine mandate. What about other side of parents? Who you represent for in here? It's not our decision tonight. So the information draft should not be used because it is not accurate information some area. And I have an attorney involved in writing documents like this. I'm not support posting the inaccurate, misleading information to the public. Like I said, I am a nurse specializing in neonatal intensive care and pediatrics. As a medical professional, I am a content expert. I also had to consult with a lawyer along with other medical professionals and doctors. They are supporting the vaccine, but I am self here as a nurse practitioner. I respect you. I really do respect the parents here, and I want to thank you for staying here late and when you have children home. I understand that. That's the reason I chose to be nursing. I care about people. I do care all. Okay. And my question is, what is the most important, attendance or person's life? A child's health. Number 2, that shall not be a board decision. Doctors and medical professionals should be guiding this discussion. Exemptions from the mandate should be determined by the physician, not us in here. The board needs to understand this decision should not be based on our own personal belief, partisan position, election, or religious belief. We need to listen to the expert. State the country in public health. Give us the direction for this issue, since we are also under the state and county and California OSHA practice. Let us wait to see how things progress. It is not our decision to make. as we were talking about, Clerk, Dr. Hinian, you mentioned about the side effect reaction. I want to share the side effect and reaction and the black box. I don't know how many people really understand what's a black box. The black box is a very important part about either vaccine or medication. When we're talking about black box, you think about the airplane crashed. The black box, this medication hasn't been cited so-called black box, which means it's not really cause patient to die, COVID. So it's have some reaction, and then side effect. So there is some vary from there. So I'm not saying your child have a choice there. Your child I'm trying to say your child has a choice there because you're the guardian. You represent your child. But you also need to know that's your responsibility on your child, and I absolutely understand, and I 100% support you. And I did say the last time, even parents come out talk about immunization, I said, and I even told the board member here, we need to respect our parents here when they come to talk. But we also have so many parents here. There's a study on the outside posting right now on the Facebook. The 50-50, 50 parent wants it, 50 parent doesn't want to. Well, then how do we make a choice on that? What about those kids? Do they have a choice there? The low immune system.
Point of order, Madam President. We can't go back and forth with the public.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Superintendent,
Thank you
can
for
you kind of
conducting.
wrap
So
up?
I'm stating my fact, please. So my question's here. There's not a black box, has some reactions. All the immunization has some side effects. When you cross the street, when there's a stop sign, when you're driving your car, can you go on? No, you can't. There's a stop sign that you have to follow the rules. The rule has exception. You can tell the police, I gotta go someplace, I'm in a hurry. You have the right, that's your car driving around. But what about stop signs in there? The red light. You have hepatitis B, you have DTaP, you have MMR. All those things is there for required us to have. The kids being suffered so much, I never forget that. My kids,
Board member,
2 shots, 3 shots in a row. Okay.
Can you wrap up?
I'm going to wrap it up. So I want to let the parent know here. I really want to share my colleague here. It's not our decision to make no vaccine mandated. It's not our decision, please. It's a contact expert.
Okay, next we have Board Member Dr. Rios.
Thank you, Madam President. I adamantly do not support this request. Doing so would go against what I see as my function as a board member. This request, in my opinion, absolutely undermines public policy, it undermines public safety, and it undermines public health. A lot of the arguments that we heard tonight, I mean, I'm not a medical authority to make any assertions whatsoever on vaccines. I'm glad our colleague feels like she does. But I mean, I quickly went on the internet and a lot of the arguments are completely countered by this 5-page argument titled The Importance of Vaccinations. So as was mentioned, I don't think that is our role. What is our role, and I think more important work that we have, is talking about things like closing the achievement gap, talking about the important work we're going to be doing to mitigate the effects of the pandemic on the and the effects on the academic and emotional well-being of our students. How about we focus on that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other board discussion? Okay. I just want to make a point that I believe that the parents should retain the right to exercise the personal medical decision on behalf of their children based on their child's medical background, their own religious and personal beliefs, and their child's mental, physical, and sociological health should not be penalized by the state for exercising such freedom and inalienable rights. So I am not against the vaccine. I immediately vaccinated all my children, but I really believe that parents should have a choice and make a family decision. So I do want to support this resolution, which is supported by many districts as well. And I have a question for Dr. Zidlow, because she is our policy follow the guidelines from the state, Sacramento, and the county health. Now, when we pass this resolution, okay, can we go against the law, the mandate the policy that comes from Sacramento?
Thank you for your question. In regard to any public policies that are related to employees through Cal OSHA or to public health for children through the LA County Department of Public Health or the California Department of Public Health, we do have to follow those requirements. In the cases we're in now, where we're following those, it's due to emergency orders, which then create the protocols that are mandated as opposed to guidelines that are requested of us. In this case, if there were items put into the requirements for public schooling that required the vaccines, we would have to follow whatever the requirements are from the state on that, even if you do a resolution.
Okay, so even though we do the resolution, the people that we need to contact are our legislators, for parental choice. But we are going to listen to the parents. We are going to be respectful on both sides. And Board Vice President Beach, did you want to make a resolution and amend, get some legal advice and medical advice and fine-tune the resolution and put it on the action?
Yes, Madam President,
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
like to do that. Are we going to take public comment on this item?
We'll do it after the vote,
Okay.
and then second public comments. Okay.
Okay, so my amendment was to approve this resolution and with the wording that I said. And then we'll have legal counsel look at it before next meeting.
Consensus then for information item?
To
We put it on the action?
Consensus though,
Yeah,
right?
the
It's not a vote.
consensus, right? Yeah, we don't need a vote. right? We just have a consensus and put it on the action?
No, Madam President, I adamantly oppose. That is not consensus.
Well, four people are consensus. I-
a majority.
So do you want to vote then?
It's an information item.
It's an information item.
Yes.
Back to the information item, am I correct? Because the information that you provide is not accurate, so then you can't put an agenda to vote for. It has
No,
to-
since we have it in the information item, we can put it on the action item. Yeah, we can put it on the action item. So Brad, can you just reiterate your,
I'd like to make, I guess, the motion to put what I read as a resolution on the action item for next meeting.
okay, anyone want to move?
Second.
Okay. Okay, and then shall we take a vote? Okay, we'll vote. Roll call, please, Danielle?
Dr. Apodaca?
Yes.
Mr. Beach?
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio?
Yes.
Mr. Nishi?
Abstain?
Dr. Rios? No. Mrs. Se?
No.
Mrs. Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next, we have board members' reports.
Sorry, Madam, point of privilege. For members of the public, Mr. Nishi had to abstain because he was not present for the reading or for the discussion. So I heard some, hemming and hawing. He can't vote because he didn't hear what we said. So that's all. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, yes. Yeah, please, we'll have some order. Next, we have board members' reports. Start with Dr. Eugenio.
Thank you, Madam President. This month marks 2 long years since the beginning of the pandemic and the state of emergencies here in the U.S. The state of emergencies that have given rise to the many policies and distinctions that have divided us, the citizenry. Essential workers versus non-essential workers, essential businesses versus non-essential businesses, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. These policies and artificial distinctions have ruined the livelihoods and lives, mentally and physically. They have ruined small businesses and families have spent a lifetime building. Workers lost their jobs willingly and unwillingly. But most of all, these policies and artificial distinctions are confusing and affecting the psyche of our youth. I, for one, do not believe in these artificial distinctions. It doesn't matter to me if you are Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, black, white, Latino or Asian, Christian or Muslim. In my eyes, We are all Americans, and we must work together to end these divisive policies that are tearing at the fabric of our society and restore our freedoms. Parents, I'm coming to you as a father. I have shed the same blood, sweat, and tears as you have. Our children are overwhelmed. Parents, you are the tip of the spear here in this district. Do not underestimate the power of your voice. The elected officials you see up here, we answer to you, and we are accountable to you. Do not be afraid to work in unity to end these failing policies and prevent further implementation of divisive policies. Let us break away from the old way of thinking and unify to heal our children. May God bless you all and keep you well. Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Eugenio. Thank you for those inspiring words. We have next Vice President Brad Beach.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to thank Emma for speaking tonight, and all of you parents. It takes a lot of courage to come out here, so no matter what side you're on these issues, thank you for your public comments. I'd also like to congratulate Artesia High School boys soccer and Cerritos High School Lady Dons basketball for their successful seasons. Great job. You made us proud. Yep. I also attended the Jim Edwards Park dedication. I wanted to say a great job to Nixon, Carver, and Cerritos elementary bands. They represented us very well, and to the city of Cerritos for putting on such a spectacular event. Jim was a teacher at ABC Unified for many years. He was my teacher for PE at GAR and a mentor of mine. I miss him greatly, and I want to thank Connie Edwards and their daughter Stacy for all their service to the community. Thank you.
Next, we have Board Member Dr. Rios.
Thank you. I'd like to report, had a very fun and exciting last 2 weeks. Some of the things I'd like to report on are my school visits. Board Member Nishi and I took what was my day off from my day job to visit 3 schools. The first one was GAR, so our day started there. And it was really fun to see a lot of students working outdoors and doing math problems with chalk, which, you know, I always appreciate our teachers being creative because every single student there was engaged. Then we went over to Artesia High School where we got to see a CIF parade. It's always a wonderful experience to visit Artesia. Their school climate is always so positive, welcoming, and safe. And we got to see the amazing work that our BB Bond has yielded. I mean, it felt wonderful to just walk the halls of Artesia High School and to see the classrooms so renovated. It really did feel great, and I really applaud our districts for such efforts. And then the last school we visited was Tetzlaff Middle School, and again there, it was also great to hear from the principal about their focus on writing, a skill that I absolutely see as an essential of any future endeavor, whether a student chooses college or career. Then I also attended the play in the Heights, amazing show of talent from kids from across the district. And, you know, I asked about we've been talking about some of that surplus money that has resulted, and I hope that funding, Mr. Tuan, ends up finding its way to our special programs like theater. Sports, I attended the Artesia boys basketball semifinals. It was a game that had us all at the edge of our seats. It was tied to the very sounding of the buzzard, and unfortunately they did not win, but I mean, what a game. I think it's going to be one for the history books. Lastly, I attended Artesia boys soccer championship game, and it was absolutely worth the 2-hour drive to get to Quartz High School in Lancaster. Never been to Lancaster. But seeing in person the tremendous joy of the team, the coaches, and the full stance of families and supporters was just absolutely amazing. Congratulations again to the Principal Garcia and the entire Artesia High School community for their victory. And thank you for the shirts that I'm proudly wearing in honor of that. I love it. With this, I want to take a minute to highlight the importance of sports and extracurricular activities that play a crucial role in our students' social emotional well-being, something that has been a topic of just about every board meeting. I know we have invested money in having resources available for students in crisis and those who needed added social emotional support, but we also need to invest in other ways. And by that I mean athletics, theater, music programs. I asked one of the high school principals about what percentage of students participate in sports, and he responded that about 75% participate in some kind of sports at that level. And so then I walked away wondering, do they have the appropriate equipment? Do they have the appropriate facilities? Do they have the appropriate personnel? So I want to encourage my colleagues to talk to our administrators as you do your school visits and hear about the ways that we can be more supportive. I also request we look at ways to provide added funding in those areas, an area that, again, will undoubtedly add to the academic and social emotional well-being of all of our students. And with that, I end my report, Madam President.
Thank you. Next, we have Board Member Ernie Nishi.
Thank you, Madam President. So yes, I went to various schools and saw various things. Artesia is a great media center. It's just amazing how that place is really going to transform our lives and our students. And I can just see visions coming from that particular center. Same thing with the Whitney Science Center. It's just, these kids will cure whatever we can cure. They're going to take us to Mars. They're going to take us to all these great heights, the things that we can't even imagine today. So being a part of that, actually building the facilities with everyone here on the board, by the way, all of us, President Sue, Brad Beach, Sophia Tse, Mike Yaneo, and everyone here, all supporting this particular effort to make sure that our kids get what they deserve. I am really grateful for that. Went to Cerritos Elementary, yes, Gar, Tetzlaff, saw a basketball game in the Heights. Oh my gosh, I was crying. I literally know those kids. Mr. Martins, who I remember when he was little, and just acting his heart out and singing just the best that I've ever seen. Amazing. I apologize for not being here earlier. I was at a forum because I want our community and our schools to be part of a greater world, and I think that's very important. It's not just schools in an isolation. It's schools in the city and the community and everything all together as part of what makes our whole thing better. Education is important. The main thing is education here, and we're going to keep with that. But we don't live by ourselves in this world. We live in a larger world, and we know that we're privileged and blessed to live here in the Cerritos and Artesia and Hawaiian Gardens without conflict, without people who, Lakewood, and a little bit of Long Beach and Norwalk, where people are not shooting at us, where people are not trying to take us over. And I think we need to leave just a minute or half second there to pray for them, and I think that's allowed, or at least have a moment of silence for those people who are undergoing a very trying time in our history, something that I don't think has ever, it's happened in our history, but I think we have a role in being part of that. So for just 5 seconds, let's be quiet.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President.
We have Board Member Sophia Tse.
Well, I too attended a Cerritos High School PTA parents meeting, and also working with a group of parents and students working on the project Lima's Nature Center, and to promote, to maintain the better, safe environment for our children. And last, I did have a lot of conversation and online or verbally phone talk to the parents, either their support or against. I listened to the both sides, and my position once again is that clearly I'm state and mutual. I believe contact expert. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm glad that Dr. Zidlo was here to answer my question, because I know that, through the pandemic, we're under pressure. Parents, we're angry. We understand. We want to hear you out. But let us agree to disagree. Let us agree to disagree and respect dissension. We could disagree, but let's show respect. And let us show grace to each other. And the reason why I want the public to know and hear that we have to follow the law. And there's just so many bills coming down from Sacramento. And I have to take my hats off to Dr. Zidlow for having to follow these guidelines during the pandemic. Every 2 weeks, it comes down, and I argue with her, why do we have to do the contact tracing? It's killing our teachers and staff. Well, that's the guidelines. And that's why I want to encourage you guys, the public, to, write your opinion. Let our legislators know, our governor, our assembly member, Garcia, Senator Archuleta, and Senator Pan, because, again, we all should have choice at the end of the day as parents. So thank you very much to the public, to our staff who work so diligently, and let us try to understand each other. And although the mask mandate has been lifted, when I visit the schools, outdoor students still have the mask on because some of the parents and the students still feel they want to keep the mask on, and it's their choice. But I am really looking forward to going back to normal life, and it was so good to see our students in the field playing sports, doing the music. We need to go back. We need to go back and catch
President,
up.
point of order.
Yes.
I know the government says that it will lead by the district decision, show with mask or no mask.
Yeah.
Had the school go to that direction, I was not notified yet.
No, we haven't discussed it.
So it's a point of order. You can't say that. I'm sorry
okay.
about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Announcements. Next regular board meeting is Tuesday, March 15, 2022, 7 p.m. District Office Boardroom. Our committee meetings, Diversity, Unity, Equity Board Advisory Committee is on Thursday, March 17, 6 p.m. Virtual. Strategic Planning Board Advisory Committee, Tuesday, March 22, 6 p.m. Virtual. Legislative Policy Committee meeting, Wednesday, March 30, 6:30 p.m. Virtual. Finance and Audit Committee, Thursday, March 24th, 6 p.m. Virtual. And special events, Schools of Choice online applications are going on right now, March 1st, this whole month, March 1st and through March 31st. March 19th is Chinese Culture Day, and we had that announcement earlier. And Cerritos High School is celebrating its 50th anniversary event, March 26, 2022, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now we have second public comments.
First speaker, we have Christy Gravitt. On standby, we have Edgar Arnotz and Angelica Valencia.
Good evening. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I just felt compelled that I'd like to share a few comments. First, I'm the parent of the brave 11-year-old who spoke earlier today. We are very proud of her as a family, and we support her, and it was her decision. She wanted to come speak tonight. She heard we were coming to the board meeting, and she said, I want to speak. I want to share my feelings. So I just wanted to share or kind of comment on a couple things. First, I appreciate those of you on the board who really, truly seem to be about choice. Not everyone on this board, I can tell, is. It's unfortunate because everything in life, everything in our country that we stand for, it should be choice. It should be choice. Like the other parents that have spoken, that spoke earlier, I was a little bit perplexed, Ms. A. I felt like you were being a little passive aggressive. You were saying, yes, you're for choice, but then you went back and were like, oh, but what about the other parents? The things that you were saying don't really show me or show the others. I would agree, I'm sure they would agree, that you really are about choice. It seems like, again, it just felt very passive aggressive, and it was very disheartening to hear. Although I respect your medical background, you are not a virologist, you are not an immunologist, you are not a COVID doctor. You don't know about COVID. Yet, two of your board members and parents here spoke up and gave you factual, actual data about COVID. They told you on the VAERS website how many people have had reactions, serious adverse reactions, and deaths. Do you know that the other parent said the number one, were you listening when he said the number one child that kills children, what it was? And the very last one was COVID? I mean, we have to, yes, agree to disagree, Miss Yu, of course, always I will be respectful, but it's perplexing to me that you can say some of the things.
3 minutes.
Thank you. That you said, but you say you have a background in medicine, but you're not looking at the actual data. Did you know, I wasn't prepared to speak, but I have information at home that I could come up with actual scientific data that I've read and informed myself on and made myself knowledgeable of the information, and I don't have a medical background, but I make sure that I'm informed. This vaccine, it's not even a vaccine. When someone calls it a vaccine, it's not. A vaccine clearly prevents you from getting a disease. This does not prevent people from getting COVID. Everyone is still getting COVID, whether you have the shot or not. Why is it not called a shot? Like the flu shot. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people say the COVID shot lessens your severity and chances of death. Like the flu. Fantastic. It's optional. It should be a choice for people who live in this world, for people who go to school, for parents to make those choices for their children. The other thing is that, like I said, I wasn't prepared, and I have this paper that so don't quote me exactly because I'm not going to remember exactly which vaccine it was and in the exact amount of years, but I'd love to send that to the board to share. Did you know for childhood vaccines, the first one that it was approved, do you know how many years it took? The first childhood vaccine that our kids have to take to come to school. Do you know how long it took for that vaccine to get approved? 8 years. The other ones are 11 years, 15 years, because they wanted data. I don't know about you. I respect everyone's choice, but I'm not going to give my child a shot of something that I don't know what it's going to do.
1 minute.
I have a picture on my phone that said, for those of you that are choosing to get your children vaccinated, are you prepared in 15 years of those 5 to 11-year-olds to have that conversation with your child if they do end up sterile? I pray they don't. But we don't know the studies. Are you prepared to have that conversation with your children or grandchildren when they can't have kids if it happens? Again, I pray it doesn't. But let's give everyone a choice. A choice. That's all we're asking for. Vaccinate, not vaccinate. Mask, no mask. Give everyone a choice. My daughter's been out of school now for a total of 10 days. First time in January, now another 7 days. She's not getting her education. She's been denied her rights. She deserves the right. You can say, yes, it's because of the mandates, but what happens if this passes? Is it a money trail? Does the district get money if we get a certain amount of kids vaccinated?
Time.
I'm not really sure, but give everyone a choice. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Edgar Arnutz, followed by Angelica Valencia and Dina Martins.
Hello, board. Thank you for being here. Thank you, parents, for coming as well. Is anybody here pro-vaccine? Thank you. Everybody who's against vaccine? Thank you. And this mask, who does it protect? You from me or me from you? Good night.
I just want to ask the public to, be respectful for public comments. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, we have Angelica Valencia, followed by Dina Martins and Amanda Tenyek.
Hi again. I really do want to say thank you. This is the first district meeting that I've come to, and I appreciate the forum in which we can have these discussions. So I really do appreciate it. I'd like to add that there is an assumption with mandates that there's the caveat of a medical exemption and a religious exemption. And the difference with this vaccine is that the medical exemption is narrowly defined by the CDC. And the exemptions itself that are listed by the CDC are so narrow that they only include allergic reactions to ingredients within the vaccines, including anaphylactic shock. And they have a time proximity, that they occur within a certain time that the vaccine was administered. Those are so narrow that it doesn't account for all the other reports on the VAERS data. There is a VAERS number attached to my medical record, and there is a whole medical record over the past year to justify why I should be exempt, and yet my physician will not exempt me because it doesn't fall within the narrow scope defined by the CDC. So all of the people who may be pro-mandate say that those who want medical exemptions or religious exemptions, it's easy to get. It's not. This is very different. And I am confident to have conversations with my physician and with our family pediatrician to ask those questions. And they are so restricted by what they can approve that it's unfair. My physician personally said, everything I present is logical. She sees the data in my lab values, and yet she will not sign my exemption form. At work, because I work in the healthcare field and they're mandating this booster, I cannot submit a medical exemption because my physician will not sign it. So I turn to a religious exemption because I am a woman of strong faith, and my God is bigger than the vaccine.
3 minutes.
My God is bigger than the booster. And for my work in a hospital, I have to fill out 3 pages to justify my faith, and that gets into HR. And I have questions. Who in HR has the right to judge the sincerity of my religious beliefs? What gives them the qualification to judge the sincerity of my religious beliefs? So the issue of the vaccine mandate goes a lot deeper than just let's give everyone a shot and put us all on the same page and then start new. There is not alternatives for people to really express their choice and navigate this healthcare system. I'm someone who is confident in navigating this healthcare system, and there are walls that are built up that cannot be broken down in an instant. And it's not fair. And the story I present to you, it may be rare. A mother with an adverse reaction, a father with an adverse reaction, both with VAERS data. The pediatrician will not provide a medical exemption for my child because he doesn't fall within that small, narrow frame. What am I to do if the vaccine mandate is passed? Yes, homeschool. I have homeschooled. I love homeschool. Move out of California? You know, I moved to Cerritos for the district. I will move out of California because of the district if it comes to that. And I will support any parent, whether they choose the vaccine, whether they don't, whether they stay with ABC or they don't. I'll be a resource to those parents who want to do homeschool. I'll help encourage them and give them tips that I learned along the way when I homeschooled my kids. And that's just a part of this vaccine mandate that hasn't been considered. Additionally, when we look at evidence-based medicine, we look at the best scientific evidence,
1 minute.
clinical expertise, and patient experience and perspective. During this vaccine issue, there is such a big focus on this clinical expertise, and that the physicians may be the better ones to make the decision for us. True doctors who practice and look at the whole person and how an illness affects their roles in life, their activities in life, everything will take into account the best scientific evidence, even if it doesn't agree with them. They'll take into account the patient experience, their values, and their perspective. And that's what's missing, that patient perspective. It's just as important as the clinician experience and as the scientific evidence, but it needs to be given its fair amount of weight when making the decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Dina Martins, followed by Amanda Tiniak and Alexia.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dina Martins. I'm a parent of a student here at ABC. And I wasn't going to speak, but again, I felt I had to. I'm speaking to you as a mom, to you parents, grandparents, possibly, padrinos that may not have a kid of their own, but love and would protect their loved one with their life. Rewind 13 years, when my husband and I had to take our 9-month-old baby to the emergency room for an extremely rare symptoms that he was experiencing. After hours of trying to convince the doctors and nurses that something was not right with him, after vomiting bile, they finally agreed, oh, maybe something is very wrong. They finally determined that he had a life-threatening condition and needed emergency surgery. Rushed us to Children's Hospital for the surgery. We were ecstatic that he was released after a week in the hospital. Thinking that he was out of the woods, we quickly realized that that was not the case. He continued with medical setbacks, several surgeries for another 5 years. Why do I bring this up? My son, at 9 months old, was vaccine injured. Vaccine injured from a vaccine that was supposed to protect him. I almost lost my 9-month-old baby because of a vaccine that injured him. The doctor said it was safe. I trusted my doctor. That was not the case. For 5 or 6 years, he had medical setbacks and multiple surgeries. That is not okay. So now if this bill passes, I'm here going to have to make a choice. Do I make a choice to, luck of the draw? Is my son going to have another adverse reaction? I won't make that choice. And as
3 minutes.
I understand this is a legislative issue. And I understand that you guys, if you vote for it, that you'll send the resolution letter to the governor. How many of you personally have reached out to the governor, to the assembly persons? One, I so am grateful for the resolution that you guys are trying to send to the governor's desk. However, how much further, how much more? We're just asking for your guys' continued support in this. We've been fighting these bills for months, us parents. We've been writing letters. We've been calling the legislature. We've been doing all this, calling for meetings from our senator, and we are not getting the response. We need your voice. You guys have the power to continue after this. If this resolution passes to the governors, we need your continued fight for us. And if this is going to come down from the state, it is definitely your place. If it's going to affect enrollment at the school district, it is definitely your place to say something and to fight against this opposition. You will lose enrollment. With that said, again, I thank you so much for this, trying to get this resolution passed. Just because we are opposing a mandate doesn't mean that other students cannot get the vaccine. We are just asking for a choice. We're not saying you can't get it. Get it if you want. Again, it's choice, and it is absolutely your place to protect your students that do not want this, that their parents that do not want this. It's pure and simple choice. Lastly, I've been sitting here through this evening, and Dr. Rios, from the moment you came out, listening to parents, you've had your hand on your face, just seems like you've been uninterested. It takes so much courage for us to come up and address you guys. A little bit of respect, a little bit of interest, and the chuckle underneath your mask, we could see it, we could hear it. It's not okay. Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Amanda Tenyuk, followed by Alexia.
Hi again, thank you. Okay, so there's just a couple things I wanted to just clear up. One of the gentlemen came up and he talked about that 12-year-olds can already consent to vaccines. So he was referring to AB 499 way back from 2011, which did authorize 12-year-olds to get STDs vaccines and also birth control treatments. However, SB 866 goes a lot further than that. And I certainly hope that every single one of you sitting up there is concerned about a 12-year-old consenting to a medical treatment. I hope that concerns you. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to work around the parents. Again, I told you earlier, I'm a high school teacher. I work with teenagers. I work with adolescents. I understand the importance of peer pressure, and I want to fit in and all that kind of stuff. So what they're hoping is going to happen with this bill is that all the 12-year-olds and the 13-year-olds pressure each other into this medical treatment, go around your parents. What if that 12-year-old doesn't know their medical background? Maybe they don't know, they don't have all of those records in their head or what the implications could be. That is dangerous. That is a dangerous precedent, and I hope that those people who are against the SB 871, I certainly hope you're concerned about 866. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. And then decisions, of course, about these medical treatments, yes, parents and doctors, but certainly not politicians, should be making decisions about medical treatments. They are definitely not qualified for that. And I just wanted to point out to some of the board members here that there is a reason why so many boards across California are pushing back against this. This is still an experiment, okay? I understand about the concern about public health.
3 minutes.
But this vaccine does not stop transmission. So what do you mean about protecting public health? This is a personal protection. And as I told you before, my son got the sniffles. He's 9. That is not deadly. And he clearly did not pass it on to anybody else. So we need to really look beyond, above and beyond disease mitigation, and also recognize the bigger picture that this whole COVID thing has done a lot of damage to our children, their mental health. As I told you before, I see it every day. And I also, we talked about medical exemptions. Those are impossible to get. The state has set, they're on a witch hunt against any doctors who writes them. So no doctor is going to put their license on the line, as a member of the public had indicated. They're not going to do it. So medical exemptions are out. So I just wanted to just bring that last point. And then one more thing. So the board, if you guys decide, you could send a resolution as discussed, but also the superintendent could also use her voice. If she has concerns, she could also express those concerns about those impacts separately. Anyway, thank you again for your time.
Last public speaker, we have Alexia.
Hello. Again, like many other parents, I was not going to speak tonight. I think that Ms. Board Member Say, when I think we saw her all get very emotional, rightfully so, justifiably so, because she's talked to parents on both spectrums, and I think that's important. I think that Parents for Choice will acknowledge that other parents have an opposing opinion and they want mandates. And I understand that. And I think that that's using wisdom. That's using wisdom. And when she hears these stories and she's very passionate about them, I think for us sitting here after just, pouring our hearts out and explaining everything we went through, we probably felt, I felt a little bit off guard. I felt a little bit like we were being yelled at. And so I know that's not your heart.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize to
Thank you. Thank you.
If you feel that way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. No, I really appreciate that because I know that's not your heart. I've met you at previous board meetings. I know that's not you. So I understand that. As far as the Facebook post that went out, majority of the parents that are on there are very They're very pro-mandate. And so a lot of the parents that are pro-choice are on Instagram. So that's probably why you're seeing the results that you're seeing 50-50. Nevertheless, if they are pro-mandate, that is totally fine. They can choose to wear a mask. Nobody is telling them to not wear a mask. Nobody is convincing them to not get vaccinated. We respect their decision to do so, whatever it is. We also want our decisions to be respected. We have come out multiple times.
3 minutes.
We have not seen anybody pro-mandate come out. The next meeting, March 15th, we will all be here. Every single one of us will be here. And more parents to come. We understand it's a legislative issue that, you know, you guys are saying it's out of your hands, but as Tricia stated, there's many districts that are opposing and they're going mask-free. There's private schools that go mask-free. As far as Ms. Rios, I understand you want more vaccine clinics. You're very pro-mandate. My concern is that if somebody has a vaccine, then they should be protected. They should be protected. If they have a vaccine, if they have a mask mandate, if they want to wear the mask, they should be protected. They should not worry about what other children are doing. As I said in my previous statement, they do not have permission to enforce that on other parents. That is not okay. I think that doesn't make any sense to any logical person. Also, Dr. Rios, to question Brad Beach and Eugenio and say that they were giving misinformation, I think discrediting their information that they gave tonight was not okay. It makes you guys look divided. It makes you guys look like you don't think that they're capable of providing proper information. I know that you also had mentioned that the parents that came out tonight had made false misinformation. And again, a lot of these parents take a lot of time out of their day to research and study. And then we also have convictions. We're also firm believers in God. And so a lot of us,
1 minute.
a lot of us don't see that vaccines would ever be an option in our home. So to enforce something that we all feel very strongly, we're here, we're present. If they want to stay home, that's fine. They have the option of independent study. They can do that too. But instead, the unvaccinated and the unmasked are being forced to stay at home and do online study, and it's not right. There's so much division, and we do not need any more mandates to further this division in our district. We need to come together, build the bridge between parents of choice, between parents that are fearful and they don't know if their kids should go to school, and board members and teachers and everyone. We need to come together as a community and stop fighting and having division over simple things like, do you wear a mask or do you not? That's crazy to me. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
We have, excuse me, we do have two public comments online.
Okay, online. Okay, go ahead.
All right,
Scott.
the first speaker is Alberto Lopez. Go ahead and unmute, sir. Go ahead and unmute.
President, I'd like to give the t-shirt to the lady. I really appreciated you come out, and your presentation is very nice and beautiful.
All right, the next speaker. The next speaker is Sarah Malabicki. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
No, we could hear you.
Can I get a response if somebody can hear me? Okay, well, we can't hear you. We are completely, if we want to either, or we have the option, if we're doing virtual, because we're trying to protect our family, we have to either choose to do the YouTube version where we do not have to, are not able to raise our hand, or we are having to do the Zoom where we hear basically the Charlie Brown parents where we can't understand a thing anybody is saying, which is totally unacceptable. I pretty much, from the time I went to raise my hand, which I waited till the last second, because I couldn't hear the rest of the board meeting. Totally unacceptable. On top of that, why we're put as virtual at the very end, when we should have been given opportunity at the second set of comments before everybody else. I'm assuming it's because we're probably the parents that are doing it in pro of safety measures. I'm not sure where I'm at on the whole thing of the vaccine versus everybody for mandating or not. But masking, I see no need for
3 minutes.
us to be so jumping out on having it off. I have a friend that just went to the doctor's yesterday, and guess what? Her husband could not go with her to the appointment because they only want a particular person that was in the appointment there. Why, if we're so safe to take off the mask on our kids, do we not able to have a person with us? That was a clear fine for everybody before COVID. Obviously, things are not as good. If you look at the numbers, yes, they have went down. We also just got done with the surge that happened. Guess what happens right after our little everybody takes off masks? We're going to have Easter break. Guess what's probably going to happen? The same thing that happened for Christmas break. My kids were supposed to go back after Christmas break, and you know what? They're still on virtual because we're not sure if we want to take that precaution. Because obviously, a lot of people were a little bit too, I want to go play during their Christmas break and not think about what was going to happen on their little Christmas break extravaganza. And they ended up spreading it to how many kids in our district that didn't need to deal with it. At a different board meeting we had, a lady came on there and sat there and talked about how her kid that was at preschool ended up catching COVID. Her kid's classmate had a major reaction, was still in the ICU having major issues. So to say it's like it's not
1
a big
minute.
deal for little kids is a bunch of bull. I don't agree with it at all, and it's really disrespectful for a board member to take and post things and use information that's not actually accurate in his thing. As another board member clearly stated that it was false. Thank you.
All right, we do have one more. Alberto?
Hello. Hi, my name is Alberto Lopez. I was there earlier to speak about paraeducators. I also want to speak up against the anti-mask movement and the anti-vaccine movement. Personally, I've worked with the kids. They're happy whether they're outside, inside, and they love to play with each other outside, with or without their masks. We don't tell them to take off their masks or put them on. It's their choice while they're outside. But they're very happy to be outside and with or without their masks. So I just want to say, like the parents out there that advocated for their children's not to be wearing masks at school, I also got to see the other side of it. I got to walk through schools and see dozens of children sitting in the office waiting to get picked up because of a COVID exposure. And unfortunately, my aunt, who's a teacher, has gotten COVID twice now, and her husband passed away from COVID. So it's not something so minimal as to say that it is not that big of a deal. It might not be a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to me. I've lost family to COVID. Friends of mine who were also parents have also lost family due to COVID. So just be aware of that. I'm fine with you guys speaking out against it, but understand that there's also an opposition. There's also the other side of the coin. So even though the majority of the people there are pro-choice in terms of vaccines and masks, there's the other side of the coin. There are also people out there who do not want to see more children get sick or get sent home. We have spring break coming up. The district was a little behind when it came to testing children.
3 minutes.
Hopefully we'll be on top of it. Thank you.
That was the last public comment online.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Apodaca.
You and your second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.